Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
One Piece Luffy with a System by KaiokenGuy. The powers of the D bloodlines are strange. Some people who have the initial of D in their names grow stronger over time compared to normal people, others more intelligent. Some are born as monsters with high strength from the moment they come on this world, but Luffy's power was one of the strangest and strongest you would ever imagine. Smarter Luffy with a pet. I don't own anything. Adios.
It was a sunny day on an unknown island on the Grand Line in the New World. It was a summer island that wasn't known by the world government. Here in a grandiose hospital we could observe two men anxiously waiting for something. The first man is a tall, tanned, broad-chested, muscular old man. He has a beard and a scar over his left eye. His eye color is blue, and his hair is dark with white stripes going through it. It seemed age was getting to him. He wears a white suit with a blue shirt underneath and a greenish tie around his neck. He also wears a white cape with a red and black shoulder pads. On the back of his cape there was only a single word written in kanji, justice. The other man has spiky black hair with a widow's peak and a tattoo on the left side of his face, which is colored dark red. He has a bit of stubble on his chin. He is most often seen sporting a grin, but right now he wasn't grinning. He had a serious look on his face. He was wearing a large green cloak. Those two men were really famous. Most exactly, one was famous and the other was infamous. You see, Monkey D. Garp is one of the strongest marines alive. This fact supported by his actions. 3 years ago he fought and caught Gold D. Roger the Pirate King, the known strongest man on earth. The only ones known to match him were Garp himself and Whitebeard, the other man with unrivaled powers, which we won't explain until later. Roger got executed later. The other one was Monkey D. Dragon, the biological son of Garp. As his father was one of the most great and exalted marines, you would think that Dragon would want to follow in his father's footsteps and become a marine. But here you would be dead wrong. Dragon became something that every marine and world government hated, a revolutionary. Dragon himself hated the world government corruption and the so-known celestial dragons, who would abuse their status of descendants of the funders of the world government, to do anything they wanted. There were no rules for them. Dragon was disgusted with this, so he created the Revolutionary Army to destroy the world government and bring true peace and justice to the world. You might think right now that the two of them should be fighting to the death because they were in two different factions with different ideals. But here you would be wrong again. Garp joined the Marines when he was really young, so he didn't know about the corruption of the world government, but after years of doing his duty as a Marine he learned too much. Right now he couldn't resign and leave the Marines because even though he hated the world government conduct, he himself still had justice coursing through his veins. He still wanted to catch evildoers. Garp actually was supportive of his son's actions in secret. He himself would never say that out loud. Garp turned towards Dragon and said, "You brat, why did you drag me here? Don't you think that I will catch you and throw you into impel down?" Dragon turned towards Garp with a grin on his face and said, "Father, even if you wanted to catch me it wouldn't be so easy. I am not the same kid you would tie balloons to and leave to float or getting thrown towards the lions." Garp smiled at those memories. "Ah, the good times of your childhood." Dragon continued, "Anyways, back to business. You need to know that your grandchild is born right now. And you will have to take care of him in the future. You should know why." The grin on Dragon's face disappeared after he said that. Garp turned to Dragon. "Well, brat, it seems you won't be able to even take care of your own child. Aren't you kind of shameless to dump him with me? You should also know that even though I should be able to take care of him for a while, I won't be able to stay with him forever." Dragon nodded at his father reasoning and said, "I actually have a plan for him. Take him into East Blue on our birth island, and when you can't take care of him anymore, leave him in care of someone of Fuchsia village. You are rather well known there, aren't you?" Garp looked again at his son and nodded mutely. The nurse that was inside the room ran outside really fast, and when her eyes landed on Dragon she said hurriedly, "Mister, please come inside. The child has been born but his mother won't resist anymore. There were complications and she doesn't have much time left. She requested to see you before she passes away." Dragon nodded with a sad look on his face. He actually knew, and his lover knew too, that she wouldn't be able to survive if she gave birth, but she insisted anyway. You see, in the monkey family there was a very high percentage chance for the mother who gave birth to die, because the strength at birth of the monkey family was way higher than the others. The mother couldn't survive giving birth due to the amount of nutrients needed to keep alive such an abnormal child. That's why Dragon grew up motherless. It seemed his child would do the same. Dragon entered the room. His lover was on the hospital bed with a little bundle in her arms. The bundle seemingly had tons of energy. He laughed a weird laugh that sounded like she with his baby voice, and he moved around in his cloth bundle. Dragon looked at the situation with a smile on his face. But the smile disappeared almost instantly because his wife's heartbeat was getting slower and slower. It seemed that her life was almost at the end. Dragon walked near the bed and looked in his wife's eyes. Their eyes locked for a whole 30 seconds. There were no words needed between the two of them. With her last breath she gave him the bundle and uttered 3 words, "Monkey D." Luffy, the heart monitor near the bed gave a long beep. Her heart stopped. Dragon's eyes grew misty and water started to pour out of his eyes. He was crying. Luffy, seeing his father sad, he started to wail and cry as well. He wasn't happy anymore because Luffy himself felt that someone precious to him disappeared forever. It wasn't instinct. It was the big blue screen that appeared in his face that said, "Congratulations to host, with your birth you unlocked the strongest system. Unfortunately your mother had to die because of that." With that message, Luffy's great future was set in stone. Even his father and grandfather will be so shocked of his growth in the future that their jaws will hit the ground. System powers. There is no level but there are stats. STR. Power AGI. Speed VIT. Endurance INT. Academical intelligence. WIS. Life intelligence, making good battle plans, common sense, etc. Unlockable stats. Will. The higher the will, the better effects of your two hockeys, conquerors and armament. I think observation is more like very high instinct, to the point you can actually read the opponent's mind. Basic observation. As for future sight, this will need will as well. There are perks, but you can only be born with them. Skill are instantly mastered unless they are things like swordsmanship, martial arts, etc. X. If Luffy learns Gomu Gomu no pistol, that means he can do it perfectly from the first try. This only applies to special kills. Higher mastery in the swordsmanship etc. means more damage from the skills. It's stat 6 mastery plus skill damage. Basically, if Luffy eats any kind of devil fruit, as long as he makes skills, he would be strong ASF, but he can't shoot them continuously. He needs Vit stat for that. Running, healing, observing will not be skills. This will be normal things implemented by the system. Power ranks. Civilian marine fodder, basic pirate, any other kind of marine rank below captain. Marine captain equals pirate captain, but not in all cases. It depends. Rear admiral, supernovas, vice admiral, admiral equals 1/3, Yonkou fleet admiral equals 2/3, Yoko Yonkou pirate king. These ranks will be only displayed on enemies and friends. Luffy will have no rank. Just so you know, normal adult civilians have one of each stat. Luffy's stats, I know they may seem odd because he was just born, but whatever, he is basically as strong as an adult male from birth. Monkey D. Luffy STR. 1 AGI. 1 VIT. 1 INT. 1 WIS. 1 perks. Good genes. You have the DNA coming from one of the strongest men on the earth coursing trophy. You can train faster. Will of D. Unlocks the will ill stat gains, and the speed which you gain will stat. Great destiny. Even if you know it or not, you have a great destiny, so you will have a lot of chance encounters. Fruit eater comes from the system. You can eat 2 devil fruits and gain water resistance. That means you can swim even if you eat devil fruits. But beware, sea stone still drains you of 30% of stats. Fast learner. You have a good head on your shoulders. You can learn skills very fast. Sometimes you can invent skills on the fly or learn just by watching. Training. Normal training, which means the usual sit-ups, push-ups, jogging, pull-ups, or weightlifting. This gives you stats. There is a cap on the training stats though, which can be broken with fighting. Fighting. Depending on your opponent, you can gain stats by fighting, but beware, if you fight 2 weak opponents you won't gain anything. There is a cycle. Luffy needs to train and fight to become stronger. After the cap on stats break you can train again, but you would either need longer training or harder training to get results. If you do the same training as before the cap you won't gain results. Luffy has an inventory. Depending on his strength he gains more carry capacity and slots. Every slot can have 99 items. Only the first item is calculated in weight. The weight thing is so Luffy can't use the inventory to drag things he shouldn't be able to out of the way. As any other inventory, the thing Luffy stores remain fresh. Ever since I was born I could see these windows over people's head. Most of the time they had question marks above them and ranks such as civilian. Sometimes I would see marine fodder, but the highest rank I have ever saw would be from Grandpa. His was Pirate King, weakened by age. That meant he was extremely strong. The system started to explain itself to Luffy as he grew up. Since the system worked like telepathy, Luffy learned about it very easy. By the time he was 4 he already knew everything there was to learn about the system. He even gained 1 stat for each of his stats, by doing what the system suggested him to do. Right now as a 4-year-old he was twice as strong and intelligent compared to the average adult. Luffy's power and intelligence wouldn't go unnoticed by his grandpa Garp, so every time he saw him getting stronger he would laugh very hard and say out loud, "Luffy, you will make a great marine." Luffy knew what marines were, but he wasn't really sure he wanted to become one. When Luffy would say his doubt about becoming a marine, Garp would punch him on the head and say, "Brat, you will become a marine even if you want to or not." This kind of behavior from Garp kind of left him wanting less and less to become a marine. The feeling intensified when he got tied to balloons and thrown into the air by his grandfather, saying that even tough he was strong, he still needed training. After that he got thrown into a pit fight with lions, thrown into a jungle, and even off a cliff, but those things didn't really make Luffy hate his grandfather because even tough the training methods were rather unorthodox. They were showing great results to Luffy. Fighting and trying to survive in these situations made Luffy develop really fast. His stats were as following. Monkey D. Luffy STR. 6 AGL. 5 VIT. 9 INT. 4 WIS. 7 He even learned a skill when he fought with the lions. Skills. Martial Arts 3 Latvian Laches self-learned martial arts skill consisting of kicking, punching and all other means of fighting using your whole body. STRXLVL. Max LVL 100. Ever since Luffy learned the skill he trained with it every day, and when his grandfather came to visit for his training, he would be so surprised at his progress that he would put him trough even harder training. In consequence, Luffy grew stronger and stronger year to year. Luffy was 7 years old now. He was pretty tiny at 140 meters. He was wearing a white shirt with the image of an anchor and blue shorts. He was standing on a stool in the party bar. A bar which was actually the only bar in the Fuchsia village, the owner being a young slim girl with green hair and brown eyes named Makino. The bar was full of rowdy people who were either eating meat or drinking rum. Near him stood a man who wore a long black cape over his shoulders and a straw hat and slightly loose brown trousers cut below the knee and collected halfway up the shin, with golden buttons down the outer leg. He wears a pair of sandals and is unshaven with a short, scruffy beard. His hair is red. You could see Luffy looking angrily at him and shouting, "Shanks, I want to be a pirate, please take me on your next adventure." Shanks grinned at Luffy and said, "No matter how strong you are, Luffy, I won't take you on my ship, you are still too young." Luffy huffed at his response and looked away angrily. Shanks smiled and told Makino, the bar owner, "Here, give Luffy a glass of juice." He passed her a few belly, which she accepted, and poured a glass of juice for Luffy. Luffy happily took the juice and started drinking it, but Shanks started laughing and said, "Pirates don't drink juice." Luffy spitted the juice and shouted with razor-sharp teeth, looking like a shark, "Shanks, you bastard, you tricked me." All the men in the bar started laughing. The bar's doors were kicked open by a bunch of mountain bandits. The leader is a tall, dark-skinned man with black hair, a black goatee, and an X-shaped scar above his right eye. He wore a long red coat over a white shirt, black trousers, and a golden necklace. He looked around the bar and said with a sneer on his face, "I'm a bunch of good-for-nothing pirates." He started walking towards the bar and told Makino, "My name is Higuma the Bear with a bounty of 8 feet 000,000 belly on my head. Me and my men didn't come here to rob, just give us 8 barrels of rum and we will leave." Makino told them with a strained smile on her face. "Unfortunately, we are all out of rum right now. I am sorry." Higuma sneered and looked at Makino with a dangerous glint in his eyes. "So what are these low-life pirates drinking then? Water?" Makino shook her head and said, "They drank all of my rum. Again, I am sorry." Shanks looked at Higuma and offered him an unopened bottle of rum. "Sorry for drinking all of the rum. Here, have this bottle." Higuma sneered, took the bottle and shattered it over Shanks' head. Luffy looked angrily at the scene. Shanks was down with his hat covering his eyes and said, "Oh Makino, I am sorry, I met the floor wet, give me a rag and I will clean it up." Makino got a rag herself and said, "It's no problem, Captain, I can clear it myself." Higuma sneered and took his sword, slashing at all of the leftover food and glass cups on the bar counter, shattering them and throwing them down. "Here, if you like cleaning this much, clean all of this." He turned around with a sneer on his face and said, "What a bunch of trash pirates," and left the bar with his cronies. Luffy immediately exploded when the bandits left. "Why didn't you retilate Shanks? Itought you were a great pirate." Shanks looked at Luffy with a smile on his face. "It's no problem, Luffy, they just spilled a bit of booze on me. This is not a reason to fight for." Luffy looked away from Shanks, ashamed that he admired such a spineless coward. He observed the open chest on the bar counter that wasn't thrown away by the bandit Higuma and took the fruit from inside. The fruit is a violet, spherical-shaped fruit with a stem sprouting out of the top, with swirls that go in a curly S-like pattern. Luffy didn't really care why the fruit looked funny and ate it almost in one gulp angrily. Shanks grinned at Luffy and said, "It's not good to eat out of frustration, Luffy. Wait, what are you eating there?" Observing that the chest was empty and Luffy was swallowing the last bite of the fruit, Shanks immediately tried to get the fruit out of him by grabbing him by the ankles and shaking him up and down while yelling at him, "You dumbass, you ate the forbidden devil fruit and now you can't swim anymore." Luffy's legs stretched and he face planted on the floor. In front of his face appeared a screen which said, "Congratulations to host for eating his first devil fruit. The system will ensure that you have full control of your devil fruit, so you don't need to train to control it. Keep in mind that to unlock your skills you will need to think about them yourself." Luffy looked blankly at the screen and at the screaming Shanks in front of him, but he ignored Shanks screaming at him about not being able to swim. The system said he could swim even if he ate these kind of devil fruits, so he didn't really care. Shanks looked at Luffy and sighed. It seemed the brat really didn't care about it, so he started explaining to Luffy, "Luffy, the devil fruit you ate is called the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It basically makes you a rubber human, meaning now everything from your organs to bones and skin are rubber." Luffy nodded at Shanks' explanation, and from what he inquired from the system, he could make his own skills or something like that, so he needed to start training soon. After a while, Shanks and the others left, saying that they needed to go in another voyage. Luffy left the bar as well. He needed to train. "I run towards the forest, my grandfather occasionally throwed me in. I needed to see how strong this new devil fruit I got from Shanks is. From Shanks' explanation I understood that I am fully made of rubber now. Since I was made of rubber I should be able to stretch all of my limbs. I tried to stretch my limb backwards and throw it forwards. It impacted a tree. When my fist reached the tree it punched trough it like a knife trough hot butter and I heard a beep in my head and a window appeared in my face. Host has invented new attack. Please name the attack. I thinked about it a bit before selecting a simple name. I decided to go with Gomu Gomu no Pistol, because I felt that my fist was as fast as a bullet and it penetrated the wood very easily. Host has invented the attack Gomu Gomu no Pistol. Damage 200, can combine with martial arts. After the first try Luffy created a lot of other attacks. These were the few which he would use regularly. Gomu Gomu no Rocket, 100. Gomu Gomu no Bazooka, 350. Gomu Gomu no Gatling, 100 per hit, high stamina consumption. Gomu Gomu no Bullet, 100. Gomu Gomu no Rifle, 300. Gomu Gomu no Whip, 250. Gomu Gomu no Spear, 200. Gomu Gomu no Battle Axe, 400. Gomu Gomu no Balloon. Defensive technique. Damage reduction 20%. Those were the strongest and most useful techniques that he could use in all situations. The other he created were either useful in certain situations, or not strong enough for him. While he created those techniques his martial arts skill also leveled up quite a bit reaching 10 Labby and Laches. Martial arts. The knowledge on how to use your fist and kicks to damage your enemies. You are on your own way to create your styled 10 Labby and Laches. It seemed I could create my own martial arts style based around my devil fruit. This should work. After I thought a while I decided that I needed to use life combat to temper my techniques and gain more experience using the devil fruit. Even though the system gave him perfect control he still didn't know everything about his devil fruit so he needed to experience it. I easily found a horde of boars. Most of the time it would take me quite a while to hunt down a horde, but now with my new devil fruit I should be able to kill them easily. I brought both of my hands near me and started to punch in their direction at high speeds. Fist images started appearing around Luffy and they started to become longer and longer till they reached the boars. When one of the fist images grazed one of the boars, he grew unconscious almost instantly, its eyes going in the back of his head leaving only the whites. In a few seconds all the boars were down. But I started to breath heavily. It seems Gomu Gomu no Gatling took quite a lot of stamina, but with the system I should be able to regain my stamina pretty fast. I looked at my updated status page and it read, Monkey D. Luffy. STR. 10 AGL. 9 VIT. 12 INT. 8 WIS. 10 Even though his grandfather didn't come very often Luffy still kept up with the training and became stronger and stronger because of it. He also started to make battle plans on the fly when he met with wild animals. All the fighting and training also increased his stamina. The more he used it the stronger he became after he defeated those boars. Even though he didn't gain any martial arts LVLs he gained tons of meat. I skinned the boars and took their meat. Taking the snap tree I destroyed earlier I made an improvised bonfire and started roasting the meat. I was still in the middle of the forest but I didn't really care. I could kill almost anything in this forest and the stronger animals were in the center of the mountain so I didn't need to worry about anything. The shrubberies moved and out of them came a little black-haired wolf. It had his left front paw injured. It seemed he was only a few months old pup. He was growling to me wanting some of my roasted meat. I looked at it and you could see stars practically appearing in my eyes if you looked at me. I ripped some meat from the bone and beckoned for him to come over. He came slowly, surely being scared of the small human in front of him. Not knowing if it was trap, he neared me and I threw some meat at him. The little thing, even though he was pretty small, he ate so fast you would think he didn't eat in days. It started to walk towards me and started rubbing against my leg. It even wagged its tail and he let out a few cute growls that meant, please give me more. I chuckled at it and gave him a bit more and started eating myself. Before I knew it we both finished all of the boar meat. My stomach was expanded because I ate too much but I didn't feel bad. The little wolf had his belly full and he looked quite plump and cute right now. He actually started to lick my hand. I took him in my arms and seeing he didn't protest I took him with me to Makino's bar to see if she could help by cleaning up his paw. I arrived 30 minutes later at Makino's bar. When she saw me with the wolf pup in my arms she ran to me and asked, Luffy, what happened to that wolf and why are you holding it? I just told her my encounter with it and she nodded at me. She took some antiseptic to clean the wound and bandaged it with some bandages from her first aid kit. The wolf looked tired and started to sleep right on the bar counter. Makino turned towards me and asked, are you going to keep it, Luffy? Well, Makino, I don't see why not. He is really cute and when he will grow up he will become strong as well. I will take him with me and become a pirate. Makino chuckled at my words. It seemed Shanks influenced me more than I thought. But I kind of liked the idea of piracy. Shanks explained, being free to do anything you want, to party, to adventure, to laze around, to fight whoever you want. I longed for that kind of freedom. It was practically in my soul. I decided to name the wolf, which Makino confirmed to me that he was a boy. Wolfie. I also decided that I would start to take him training with me. Since he would come with me to be a pirate he needed to be strong. After a few months of training with Wolfie, Shanks and his crewmates were back. They were met with the sight of me and Wolfie kicking the asses of the mountain bandits that trash-talked and humiliated Shanks before. They came today to Makino's bar and started to talk badly about Shanks and the others again, so I couldn't take it down without doing anything, so I bashed the leader's face in with a Gomu Gomu no pistol, bringing him down instantly.
The training for a few months gave me more than few points in almost every stat, so I could easily beat all of the bandits. Wolfie also grew pretty strong when I trained him. He could actually as a 4 months pup beat adult men in a 1v1, but that would be more attributed to my training. But the curious thing was that he never backed down from my training. It seemed like he wanted to prove something. I could feel that from his gaze. He seemed pretty intelligent for a normal wolf.
When Shanks saw the comic situation of a little kid with stretching arms and legs beating adults and a little wolf biting them, he roared with laughter. Ha ha ha, Luffy, it seems you really like making trouble, don't you? I smirked at him and said, I just took back the humiliation they put on you that day. Also the words they said today about you. Shanks just shook his head. Kids were impulsive and tended to do whatever they felt like. He knew that Luffy was strong the moment his haki felt his aura, but the growth speed of him almost made him shocked inwardly. He was almost twice as strong as before he left. Shanks thought that Luffy would even give a Marine Master Chief Petty Officer a good fight. But the thing was, Luffy was only 7 and a few months old, and this was pretty scary in Shanks' opinion. How strong would this little monster become when he grew up? After some arguing with Shanks and the introduction of his pet wolf to him, they started to party like never before. The reason was because Luffy did a manly thing to hold our reputation. I just thought they didn't have any reason to party and pinned it on me. After the party, I followed them at the docks where Shanks' ship was. He turned towards me. It seems this is the last you will see, as we won't return after this. Tears started to pool into my eyes and I looked at Shanks and shouted, Shanks, I will recruit a better crew than you, sail more than you, and become the king of the pirates. Shanks smiled at me and put his hand on his straw hat and taught, is this your successor, Captain? Before taking it off his head and putting it on mine, my tears started to flow down like a cascade. Nay, Luffy, I will entrust you with my hat. It's very precious to me. Return it back to me when you become the pirate king, will ya? I throwed my hands at the sky and shouted the top of my lungs, sure as hell I will. From today and onwards, Luffy's resolution to become the pirate king cemented itself in him becoming his greatest drive. It was 3 months since Shanks left me and Wolfie were getting stronger and stronger. Even though I couldn't see Wolfie's stats, I knew his were all above 6s for mine. Monkey D. Luffy STR 20 AGL 18 VIT 20 INT 16 WIS 17 Skills Martial Arts 20 Lavian Laches. You are starting to see where you will go with your style. Keep it up and you will become a fighting master in the future. All the training with Wolfie paid off. Now I could move in the outer regions of Mount Kolobo like I was the actual king of the mountain. I could even advance a bit to the heart of the jungle, but I still wasn't strong enough to defeat the kings of the jungle. It was a sunny day when Garp came to his birth island to meet his grandson and see how he was doing in training. But when he saw how Luffy was shouting around in the forest that he would become the pirate king and that infernal straw hat on his head, he snapped. He applied a bit of Busashku Haki, armament Haki, and hit Luffy over the head, not hard enough to make him unconscious but hard enough to make him feel pain for hours. I put my hands on my head and felt multiple big bumps appearing on it and shouted, ouch, how come I feel pain? I am a rubber human. Garp looked at me more angrily than before. It seemed he wasn't pleased I ate a devil fruit and said, you brat, you ate a devil fruit and now you want to become a pirate too? Are you rebelling since such a young age? And what's with that wolf? I looked at my grandfather with determined eyes and said, I won't be any kind of pirate, Gramps. I will become the king of the pirates, and this wolf here is my friend Wolfie. Garp hit Luffy on the head again and picked him up like a sack of potatoes and picked the wolf from his scruff of his neck and said, it seems letting you live in the village with Makino made you meet that fellow. From now on you will live in the mountains. As Garp navigated his way around in the mountain, Wolfie was trembling from fear. As an animal he had strong instincts and he felt how strong Garp was. But Luffy looked at Wolfie and gave him a reassuring smile, meaning that Garp wouldn't hurt him. After the little wolf saw Luffy's smile, he stopped shaking and just waited for Garp to let them down. Garp finally arrived at a rundown shack and knocked on the door. A female-ish voice could be heard coming from inside. Who the hell is it? I am gonna chop you into pieces when I catch you. The door was opened. The woman is a rather tall and overweight woman with long, orange, curly hair and a big, masculine face. She wears a white collar shirt, a pink beaded necklace, checkered trousers held up with a large belt, and heeled boots. She was smoking a cigarette, but when she saw Garp her cigarette dropped to the ground and she started trembling. Oh, it's Mr. Garp, what makes you come here to our humble abode? Garp left Luffy down some time ago and he and Wolfie were looking around, when suddenly he and the wolf were caught by few men and dragged in the house. And he was being questioned. Who are you? I am Luffy. Where are your parents? Don't have any. Do you have any family? Yeah, I have my grandpa. Who is your grandpa? My grandpa is Garp. When the bandits heard the name Garp, they all started trembling and shoved Luffy and Wolfie outside the house. Garp was talking with the woman. Dayton, I want you to take care of my grandson Luffy for me when I am not around. The woman looked towards Luffy and told Garp, "Another one, Garp? Ace alone is a handful, I don't need another little monster to take care of." Garp started smirking and told Dayton, "Oh, so you want me to take you to Impel Down? Is that it? For how many crimes you did, I don't know if I could shield you anymore." Dayton started sweating and said with a fake strained smile on her face, "Ha ha ha, it was just a joke. We will sure take great care of him, Garp."
While the adults were talking, Luffy and Wolfie saw another boy of Luffy's age, maybe a bit older. He resembled Luffy a bit, but he had freckles and wore a red tank top and black short pants. He also had a bandage on his left cheek. He was staying cross-legged with a lead pipe on his legs.
Garp observed that the two brothers were eyeing each other, but he didn't think that Ace would spit towards Luffy. But Luffy easily turned his head around and dodged the spit. Garp laughed and said, "Luffy, this is your older brother Ace, be sure to make good friends, okay?" and left. Luffy looked at Ace and said, "You are disgusting. We met just now and you spit towards me?" Ace's sweat dropped at Luffy's remark and told Dayton, "Dayton, I am going to hunt, don't wait for me." Dayton nodded at Ace and looked towards Luffy and beckoned for him to come over. She said in a bandit kind of tone, "Even though your grandfather is a big shot, you will still have to do a lot of work around here. You will have to get food yourself, to clean our clothes, and scrub the floor." Luffy looked bored and started to clean his ear with his pinky and told Dayton, "Don't wanna." Dayton falled over comically and she wanted to chide Luffy, but before she could, he couldn't see him anymore. But she could hear a voice that said, "Ace, wait for me." It seemed Luffy was going to be a handful just like Ace. Ace was trying to shake down Luffy from his path, but he just couldn't. Even though Luffy couldn't really keep up with his speed, he couldn't shake him down either. But Luffy didn't really know the forest that well here, since he has only been in the outer region of it, so when Ace made a sharp turn, he lost him. "Oh damn, I lost Ace. Well, I am going to hunt and come back to the shack. I will meet him later." After a few minutes of searching, I found two big tigers which I killed kind of easily with the help of Wolfie. Even though the animals in the center of the mountain were a bit stronger, they still couldn't hurt Luffy. I made my way back dragging two tiger carcasses behind me to the shack. Wolfie was wagging his tail in the anticipation of the meal. I was also salivating at the thought of roasted tiger meat. I arrived at the shack and made a fire and started roasting the tiger meat. A smell of roasted meat permeated the area and entered the shack. The bandits inside started gulping their saliva and opened the door looking outside. Seeing that Luffy was roasting two whole tigers, they thought that they would be able to get some of them from him. But before they could touch the meat, they could hear Luffy saying, "You guys don't get anything, hunt your own meat." Even though the bandits wanted to take the meat, seeing that Luffy could kill two tigers with apparent ease since there was no wound on his body, they decided to drop the thought. They would just get their ass kicked. Seeing how hungry the bandits were, Luffy felt bad for them, so he ripped half of the tiger and throwed them the meat, saying, "Looking at you made me sad." The bandits were really happy when they saw the meat, but before they could dig in, Dayton came and said, "You guys, where are you damn manners? You let the kid hunt for you, where is your manliness?" But her eyes remained on the roasted tiger meat. After a while of talking back and forth between the bandits and Dayton, they decided that they would split the meat up between them and later, they would hunt and get Luffy back some meat. But Luffy didn't hear them because he was stuffing his face up with meat, Wolfie doing the same. After they ate, they decided that it was time for a good nap, so he and Wolfie entered the shack, walked to a sleeping mat and started snoring, a big snot bubble appearing at Luffy's nose. Wolfie made himself comfortable on Luffy's belly and started sleeping as well. Luffy's day was actually pretty good. Besides getting hit on the head by his grandfather, he met a new future friend, and ate some good meat. It seemed the future was bright for our rubber straw-hatted protagonist. From that day onwards, I tried to track Ace down, but because I wasn't familiar enough with the forest, me and Wolfie would always get lost. But with time I started to remember the forest like it was the back of my palm. I also trained some more and fought a lot more animals. My stats were Monkey D. Luffy STR 21 AGL 20 VIT 25 INT 19 WIS 20. Wolfie also got stronger. I think if I would put his strength and stats, he would have 10 in each. For a normal wolf, he grew incredibly fast for some reason. After a few weeks of tracking and following Ace, I finally found him. He was with another boy. He had round eyes, a missing tooth, and short curly blonde hair. He wore a large black top hat with a pair of blue goggles wrapped around it, a blue jacket with the sleeves rolled up, a cravat, and a pair of light blue cyan shorts held up by a belt with an elaborate flower design buckle. They were talking about something, so I strained my hearing a bit to hear them. "Ace, with this money we will surely be able to buy a big boat and become pirates." "Yeah, Sabo, we still need a bit, but at the rate we are going we should be able to make it in a few years." I was really happy the two of them wanted to become pirates as well. I walked from the cover of the tree that I was leaning against and shouted at the two of them, "You guys want to become pirates too?" Both Sabo and Ace were shocked. They didn't sense me at all. Sabo looked at Ace and said, "Who is this guy, Ace? It seems he knows you." Ace scoffed at Sabo and said, "He lives with me and the bandits now, but I don't really care about him. Since he learned about our secret hideout, we need to kill him." Sabo nodded at Ace's words before he shouted, "Kill him?" "Ace, we didn't kill anyone before." Ace gave Sabo a slap on the head and said, "I know, but what if he divulges our secret location? We must silence him." I looked at them with a confused look on my face, but I won't tell anyone if it's important for you guys. I want to be friends. Both Ace and Sabo looked at each other strangely and took some rope from God knows where. I was tied to the tree and Wolfie had a latch around his neck that was tied around the tree as well. We were both stuck here unless they came back and untied us. Even though I was pretty strong, I couldn't stop both of them at once, and I didn't want to hurt them either, so using my devil fruit was out of the question. After a while, a very large man with long whitish blue hair, narrow eyebrow-less eyes, and a broad chest with an open red, ruffle-edged vest. He had tattoos on his left bicep and wore an earring on each ear. He also wore a yellow sash with stripes around his waist and a belt over it. He wore regular pants and boots. He was seen carrying a large sword along with him. Came and asked me in a very gruff voice, "Hey you brat, do you know where the other two brats are?" I lied saying no and started whistling and looking somewhere else while sweating. The man's sweat dropped at me. How is he so bad at lying? He thought. After that he looked at me with a feral grin on his face and said, "If you don't tell me where those two brats are, it'll make you feel pain, you little squirt." I just continued lying and the man picked me up, leaving Wolfie behind barking and growling at him. After a while Sabo and Ace returned with more berries, but when they saw that Luffy wasn't there they panicked because on their way here, they saw some adults' shoe prints on the ground. That meant someone took Luffy away. They untied Wolfie from the tree and started talking with each other. Who could have took him away? Well, who did we last rob? Ace. It was just some small fry, but I think he said he was from Blue Jam crew. Damn it Ace. You angered Blue Jam now, and I think he captured Luffy thinking he was one of us. We must find him. Wolfie barked at them, indicating that he could follow Luffy's scent and lead the way. Sabo and Ace nodded at each other and told Wolfie, "Let's go, you wolf, show us the way." I was tied by the waist with both of my hands behind my back and I was getting pummeled by the man's fists, but I didn't feel anything since I was made of rubber. There were a few of his cronies around. One of them walked up to him and said, "Mr. Porkamy, this kid is quite sturdy, should I go and take the iron knuckles?" After a while of punching me, Porkamy was out of breath, but when he heard about the iron knuckles a light appeared in his eyes. "Go and take them here, I will make this brat spit out the location of these two or I will just kill him." The crony left and came back after a few minutes with two gloves made of metal with spikes on the knuckles. After resting for a few minutes, Porkamy put the gloves on his hands and started pummeling me. Even though it hurt me quite a bit, I still didn't cry out even once. Ace, Sabo and Wolfie destroyed a part of the wall and entered the shack, shocking everyone including Porkamy, but before they could do anything every crony met a lead pipe to the head, making all of them go to sleep instantly. Porkamy tried to stop them, but Ace kept him occupied while Sabo untied Luffy. After that Ace a particularly hard blow to Porkamy's arm and ran away with Luffy, Sabo and Wolfie. All of us were now at the tree where I was tied with Wolfie. Ace looked at me angrily and berated me. "Why didn't you tell them? They could have killed you." I smiled at him and said, "If I told them you wouldn't have been my friends anymore." Both Ace and Sabo were shocked at my words, but after the shock both of them sported big smiles on their faces and asked me, "So you want to become a pirate too, Luffy?" And I responded, I won't become any ordinary pirate. I will become the king of the pirates." All of us laughed and Wolfie howled. This was the beginning of a friendship and brotherhood which would last a lifetime. After I made friends with Sabo and Ace, they would invite me all the time when they would go to steal. They also gave me a pipe and taught me how to use it. Like that I unlocked a new part of the martial arts skill. Martial Arts 25 Latvian Laches sub-branch unlocked, pole fighting. Martial artists are known for being fluid in their mastery of multiple weapons. You can use any kind of weapon to increase your martial arts skill, but you firstly need to master martial arts before you can delve into swordsmanship or true pole fighting. My stats were also increasing more and more. It seems fighting every day without pause was good for something. Monkey D. Luffy STR 26 AGL 24 VIT 30 INT 21 WIS 25. Wolfie, Ace and Sabo were also getting stronger. We also sparred a lot. My life was pretty good, eating meat, fighting, stealing with Ace and Sabo to get enough money to be able to buy a ship. I felt really good making friends in my age zone. It also helped we all had the same type of dream, becoming a pirate. Days come and go. It has been more than 6 months since we became friends. Me and Sabo were waiting for Ace, who said he had a surprise for us. After a bit of time, Ace came with a bottle of sake and a few cups in his hands. He had a large grin on his face and asked, "Do you guys know that if we exchange cups of sake we become brothers?" Ace poured a bit of sake for all of us. We clinked the cups against each other and downed it down. From now on we were brothers despite the different blood flowing in our veins. When Garp came to visit and he heard all of us wanted to become pirates, he gave us a thorough beating and his fist of love more than one time. We had bumps on our heads. He also decided to train us to become good Marines. He said, the training was hellish but it increased my stats accordingly. He even had us read about Marine strategies, code of conduct and stuff like that. So my stats were now Monkey D. Luffy STR 29 AGL 28 VIT 33 INT 25 WIS 29. I also increased my martial arts skill to 30 Lappy and Laches. Garp didn't even let Wolfie rest during the training. He also gave him quite a few bumps and said, a marine pet needs to be strong so he can protect his master well. In conclusion, we all became stronger from Garp's training, even though it hurt so much it was worth it. After a while things became strange because Sabo started to show up less and less. One day he stopped showing at all. Both me and Ace were worried, so we started to go around the Goa city and ask around about him, but we met with no progress. After a while we got a letter which told us everything we had to know. Sabo was actually a runaway noble and his family took him back. Me and Ace were both angry because of this. From what it seemed like when Sabo was with us he hated his own family. Why else would he leave the noble lavish living style and start going around saying he was an orphan? But we couldn't do actually anything about it. Sabo himself wrote the letter and said that it was okay and that he decided to return to his family on his own accord. Even though we both knew he didn't really think that we decided to respect his wishes. After Sabo disappeared, Porkamy and Blue Jam came to us with a deal. Blue Jam was a rather tall man with short hair on the top of his head, that is fashioned in a striped manner, while the hair flowed down long and unkempt down his sides. It seemed half of his molars were missing in an alternating pattern, and he wore a traditional captain's jacket over a white shirt. He said that he won't look into us beating his men and stealing for him if we did a job for him. Me and Ace agreed it was a good deal. We just had to move some boxes around the Great Terminal, the junkyard, of the Goa Kingdom. Even though it wasn't really a junkyard, it was more like a refuge for homeless people, but we didn't know what was in the boxes so we only did what we had to do. But it was too late when we realized what we had done. The Great Terminal was in shambles, fully burning. Both us and Blue Jam were also stuck, because his deal with the nobles failed. He was actually scammed by the nobles. We wanted to escape but Blue Jam didn't let us. He said that if he died he would take us with him. Me and Ace fought with him and Porkamy but we could only take down his cronies and Porkamy. Blue Jam was too strong for us. But fortunately Dayton came and with her help we escaped. After we learned that the Great Terminal fate was determined by the nobles we were pretty angry but we still couldn't really do anything. So we decided to increase our training intensity so we could become stronger and do something about it in the future. Sabo left his home and tried to sail but unknowingly to him he offended a world noble and his boat was shot down. This was what we heard when one of the bandits named Doggerma came to us and explained what he saw. We were both angry and sad. I was crying uncontrollably and even Ace had a few tears in his eyes. We both looked at each other. Luffy, from now on, we won't stop training till our bodies will drop. Do you understand? Yes, Ace, and I decided that the age we will sail at will be 17. Do you understand, Luffy? Yes, Ace, I understand, but wouldn't that mean you will sail before me? Unfortunately, Luffy, I still want to become captain, but when we will meet in the future our crews will be allies. Okay Ace, training and more training. When Garp came and heard what happened, he was pretty sad as well. Even though Sabo wasn't his flesh and blood, he started to get attached to him. He also realized that he couldn't stop us from going on with our dreams. So to increase our survival he trained us personally in marine techniques. They were called the Rokushiki and they were categorized into Soru, movement skill. The Soru allows the users to move at extremely high speeds in order to avoid attacks, as well as to attack at higher speeds and with greater power. 10x AGL. Tekai, defense skill. The Tekai hardens the user's muscles to the level of iron, in order to nullify damage taken from attacks. 5x VIT. Shigen, attack skill. The Shigen is a close-quarter combat technique, in which the user pushes their finger into a certain target at a very high speed, leaving a wound similar to a bullet wound. 3x STR. Rankyaku, attack skill. The Rankyaku is a powerful projectile technique, in which the users start by kicking at very high speeds and strength, sending out a sharp compressed air blade that can slice objects and greatly damage a human body. 4x STR. Life return, recovery skill. Unlike the other skill, life return needs food to speed up the recovery of the body. It is also the easiest to learn. Increases health regeneration to 100% per minute. Needs high intake of calories. Geppo, another movement skill. The Geppo allows the users to actually jump off the air itself, allowing them to stay in the air for much longer than usual. Makes user able to fly as long as you have stamina. Kami-E, dodging skill. The Kami-E makes the user's body extraordinarily flexible in order to avoid any attacks, float, and bending their body like a piece of paper. 3x AGL. I learned them with ease with the help of the system, them being mastered the moment they were learned, but due to my small physique they drained my heavily. When Garp saw how fast I learned and mastered them he was so surprised his jaw hit the floor. But when he saw me how exhausted I was after using all 6 of them in a row he decided to give me extra stamina training, which helped me greatly. Time come and goes, and it's been 3 years since Ace left to become a pirate. Now it was my turn. My stats and skill also leveled up with all the training. Monkey D. Luffy STR. 120 AGL. 123 VIT. 150 INT. 100 WIS. 120. Skills. Martial arts 100 Lappy and Laches. You are a martial arts master. You can discern when to attack and when to defend. All of your skills do STRX 100 plus skill damage or modifier. Pole Arts 30 Lavian Laches. You are a Pole Arts adept. Increases damage while using poles and increase techniques with poles by STRX 30 plus skill damage or modifier. If you use martial arts with pole arts you will gain a X10 modifier. I was in old host more than a few people with a barrels full of food and Wolfie was with me. He grew a lot bigger, he was 2 meters tall when he stood on all fours. He also learned Rokushiki, but he could only use shave and Geppo. His stats were also pretty high, 90 each. The villagers were cheering in the port for me. The mayor Whoop Slap looked angry but I ignored him, he was always against pirates. The eel-like thing rose from the water, it was really damn big. But he didn't pose any threat to me. I let Wolfie deal with him. Wolfie jumped into the air and started flying at fast speeds. He appeared immediately near the eel's thing-like neck and bited hard. Blood started flowing like a fountain. I grabbed the eel sea king and chopped him up with a knife that I decided to get with me for the journey. I did it so fast that the villagers only saw blurs. Now I had enough meat to last me and Wolfie for quite a while. Now I was leaving, the boat was moving farther and farther away from Fuchsia village. It was time for adventure. A boat was aimlessly moving on the enormous ocean. In it we could see a teen male. He wears short blue trousers with cuffs, sandals, and a sleeveless red vest. He also has a scar with 2 stitches underneath his left eye, and short, messy black hair. There was also a big black wolf with him. They were Wolfie and Luffy, and earlier they just escaped from a perilous situation. While Luffy was sleeping, a whirlpool appeared in their path. If it wasn't for Wolfie's timely wake-up, they would have lost the boat and all of his rations of food. Both he and Wolfie could swim. See Chapter 1. If you forgot that he can still swim. But having no food and water at sea was pretty much suicide. Now they were wandering with no location in mind. While Luffy wasn't a really great navigator, he picked up something from Sabo while he was still alive. Sabo was actually the most intelligent from their trio. He was supposed to become Ace's second mate, but now it seemed like it wasn't meant to be. As Luffy was thinking, he could hear the sound of battle in the air. His hat was shadowing his eyes, so he lifted up a bit and looked forward. What he saw made him happy. There was a sailor ship and a pirate ship fighting. Finally some action for him. I started stretching a bit to heat my limbs up. Sitting on the boat for such a long time made them cramp up a bit. It was time for some fighting. I looked at Wolfie and told him, "Wolfie, there's no reason for you to come. They're weaklings. I just want to vent some steam." Wolfie growled and nodded his big fluffy head. I petted him and took into the air with Geppo. I landed on the pirate ship and I looked around. The ship was pretty horrendous. It was pink, with a swan-like head as its figurehead. When the pirates saw me coming from the sky, they were pretty scared. But pirates these days are really dumb people. So after their scare got away, they tried to attack me. I didn't even need to use 1% of my power on them. I just kicked them away with a gum no whip. Literally no effort on my part. Seems East Blue wouldn't bring me any challenges. In a corner, a pink-haired boy with glasses saw what happened. He was shaking like a leaf in the wind, but he gathered some courage and came to me and said, "Sir, E.G. Goot kidnapped BBY Desperados. See could you help PPP me?" He was a pretty funny guy with all that stuttering. I just chuckled. I could help the guy, but am I gonna? "Well kid, I am a pirate myself, so if you want me to I could help you." The kid's eyes shone with fear. It seemed he was really scared of pirates, but he also seemed to have made his mind up. "Please sir, I can't take this anymore. The captain of this ship, Alvida, is really evil pirate. If I didn't compel to all her orders I would have been dead already. Please help me." I nodded at the kid and said, "Well, my name is Luffy. What's yours, kid?" "Coby, it's Coby sir. Could you tell me how Alvida looks?" "Alvida is a tall and very fat woman. She basically a land whale, you can't miss her, Luffy sir." The ship creaked and shook like a cannonball hit it and a high-pitched annoying voice was heard. "What did you say about me, Coby?" And she appeared. Alvida is a tall and very obese woman with long wavy black hair and freckles on her. Wore a white cowgirl hat with a large red plume, a red neckerchief, a pink plaid shirt, and a blue captain's coat over it with the arms and the sleeves. She wore rings on her fingers and her long sharp fingernails had red polish. She had a purple sash with a flintlock pistol tucked in it and some jewels. She also wore graying pants and red shoes with gold buckles. I looked at her and said, "Well said Coby, no one wouldn't be able to miss her, unless you were blind. But even blind people would hear her heavy breathing and the tremors that would come from her walking, she. Alvida's face was a scarlet red like a tomato. She shouted like she was mad. "What did you say? You little brat, I am going to kill you." She had an iron mace in her hands. As she made her way in like a train that was going off the railroads, she hit me on the head with it and started laughing. I just picked it up and punched her in the stomach. Missing her shell-shocked face, she took flight and disappeared in the horizon like a shooting star. It seemed that I overestimated her strength and I punched her too hard. Oh well. Coby was awed by it. The indication was his jaw on the floor. If he didn't close it soon, flies would enter it. I didn't really care about the conflict of the ships, and since I already vented a bit of steam, I decided to pick Coby up and make my way onto my little boat. When I landed with Coby into the boat, Wolfie started barking and his tongue sticked out. His tail was also wagging. He thought that I got him food, I just gave him a side glance and said, "He is not food, we will drop him on the next island." Coby looked petrified at the wolf, but he recovered after a while. Since there were 2 humans on the boat now and I didn't really have anything to do till the next island, I decided to talk a bit with him. "So Coby, any dreams, hobbies?" "Mine's is to become the Pirate King." Coby started muttering, "Pirate King, that's impossible, you would need to get the whole world riches and traverse the whole Grand Line. Impossible, impossible." He kept muttering impossible till I hit on the head. He was getting really annoying. "It's not impossible, you are just too weak to see the big picture." "Luffy, do you think, if I became strong enough, would I become a Marine Admiral?" I laughed at the question and answered truthfully. "In the Marines, as long as you are strong enough and do a well enough job, you can become an admiral. As for you, you need hell a lot of training to become even a captain. At least more than a few years. But if you believe in yourself, no one can stop you from becoming what you want to be." Coby started to cry after he heard my speech. It seemed he really made up his mind on joining the Marines. I couldn't really care either. By the time he became Marine Admiral, I would have surely became Pirate King. I looked at the map that I took with me from Fuchsia. From the looks on it, the nearest island was Shellstown. I looked at Coby and yawned. "You navigate to Shellstown. I will drop you there. I want to sleep." Coby paled a bit at the mention of Shellstown and said, "But there Roronoa Zoro the pirate hunter was recently sighted. He is known to be a bloodthirsty killer and the best swordsman in East Blue. What if we run into him?" My eyes glittered at Kobe's description. It seemed I found my first crewmate. She, that's even better. At full speed to Shellstown. I will see if this Zoro guy is all that. If he is, I am gonna recruit him. Now shut up and navigate, I am going to sleep. I put my straw hat over my eyes and I drifted to sleep. Wolfie was near me, staying guard like a good watchdog. Next destination was Shellstown. As I was sleeping in the boat, I had a dream. It was about me and Wolfie sparring. Actually, it wasn't really a dream. It was more like a flashback because this happened in the past. This is how I gained the scar underneath my eye. Me and Wolfie were sparring in the forest. We were actually really in the middle and we weren't paying attention when suddenly a giant tiger appeared. He was one of the lords of Mountain Kolobo, along with a giant bear. He came too fast, and while I was in the middle of the spar with Wolfie, he struck with his paw at my head. Even though it was a sneak attack, I still dodged most it. Unfortunately, his claws reached deep below my eye, leaving the scar there. After the sneak attack, I teamed up with Wolfie and killed him. When Grandpa Garp saw my scar, he laughed like it was no tomorrow and said, "You are following in your grandfather's footsteps, aren't you, Luffy?" I woke up at the nagging of Coby saying that we were almost at the island. I picked myself up and looked over. The island wasn't really outstanding. The only thing that stood out was the big marine building. It was painted deep blue and had a blue seagull on its white painted arch. It was so big that it could be seen from quite far away. I and Coby docked while I took out Wolfie for a walk around. When the island's inhabitants saw Wolfie, they started to jump around like their ass was on fire. I just chuckled and said, "He won't bite anyone unless I tell him to." This kind of reassured them, but they still looked jumpy. I turned towards Coby and asked, "So is Roronoa Zoro really supposed to be on this island?" All the people jumped at the name. SSSH Luffy, Zoro is a scary name for the people here. I am not really sure if he is here or if he left, but I know the marine captain of this base is called Axe Hand Morgan. At the mention of Morgan, the people were even more frightened than when they heard Zoro. I chuckled at their reaction, and Coby looked quite stunned, not understanding why people would be scared of a marine captain. In his mind, Coby thought that all marines were good people, who did everything they did for justice. I decided to spill a bit of truth to him. "Coby, let me tell you something. If the marines are blue and the pirates are red, there are also gray areas in the red and blue sections. That means that not all pirates are pillaging, torching down, killing kind of pirates, and not all marines are down-to-earth Samaritans who would do everything for justice. Just so you know, in the future you might find some people like this in the marines. I am just warning you." Coby nodded dumbly at my words. It seemed they struck a chord in him. As I walked around with Coby, we reached the marine base. I decided to climb the wall and see if Zoro was out there. Fortunately, he really was there. It seemed the marines didn't really care and just tied him to a cross in the middle of the yard. Zoro is a muscular young man of average height with lightly tanned skin. He wears green haramaki over his right hip. He wears a white sleeveless shirt, black pants and boots, and a black bandana over his head. You could see the green hair tufts if you would look close enough. Before I could do anything, a ladder appeared near me and a little girl with brown eyes and hair done in double ponytail climbed up on it and motioned with her finger for me to be quiet. She approached Zoro and unfurled some paper. In it were 2 rice balls. "Zoro, I got you some food, please eat. They let you here too much without any food and water. You will die. Get the hell out of here, you brat. I don't need your food." Before the two of them could continue their quarrel, a high-pitched voice could be heard saying, "Ahaha, Zoro, bullying little kids. Now are you? Anyways, little girl, didn't you read what my father posted on the walls near the entrance? Anyone who helps a prisoner will be dealt like a prisoner and executed. Also, those rice balls look quite good. Let me have some." Without waiting for approval, the person took the rice ball out of her hands and ate it in one big gulp. but he started spitting, took the other one and throwed it on the ground and kicked it till it became a mud ball and said with a disgusted look on his face, "Those are sweet, rice balls are made with salt, how dumb are you?" The little girl was almost crying and said, "I thought they would be better sweet so I put some sugar into them." "Baba, you don't know how to cook at all." Men throw her out. Flanking him were two Marine cronies wearing the Marine uniform. Both of them looked troubled. They didn't want to throw the little girl out. She was only a little girl and what they would do would be a little too cruel, but the guy didn't want to hear anything of what they would say. "If you don't throw her out, I'll tell daddy on you." Those words triggered some changes in the Marines' faces. They picked the girl up and whispered to her, "Tuck yourself into a ball, it will make the landing less painful," and throwed her over the walls. Fortunately I was there and I could catch her, so she wasn't injured at all. I told Coby to follow her and keep her safe, leaving Wolfie with them as well. I jumped up into the yard and walked towards Zoro slowly. From his eyes I could detect bloodlust and some exhaustion. It seemed not eating and drinking took quite a toll on him. He looked at me and asked, "What do you want, kid?" To be honest, I wanted to invite you into my crew, and see if the rumors were all that. And looking at you, I could say the rumors were true, so here's the banger. Do you want to join my pirate crew and sail with me? I won't become a criminal just for you alone. I have a dream myself, and it doesn't involve becoming a pirate. I can respect that, but finding strong people in the East Blue is kind of hard, so I am kind of hellbent on recruiting you right now. You will join me sooner or later even if you don't want it or not. Damn brat, think you can manipulate me? I just chuckled and started walking away. I already had a plan to make him join, but I stopped when I heard his voice behind me. Could you give me that rice ball? It's more like a mud ball right now. Are you sure you want to eat it? Just give it over. I throwed the rice ball, mud ball, into his mouth and he chewed it slowly, grimacing, but finished it and told me, "Tell the little girl that it was delicious." This Zoro guy was stubborn, but now with this personality he presented he made me wanting him in my crew even more than before. I arrived at the restaurant owned by the girl's mother and I told her what Zoro said and asked her what happened to him, to put him into that situation. Well, Zoro saved me by killing the rabid wolf pet of Helmeppo, the blonde guy in the purple suit, because his father is the captain here. He is truly lawless and does whatever he wants. When Zoro killed his wolf, he said that if he survived 30 days, without any food and water he would lift all charges against him, and if he didn't he would kill me and my mother. At the mention of herself and her mother being killed, some tears started to pour out of the little girl's eyes. She found everything done by Helmeppo extremely unfair. I comforted her a bit and continued eating. Wolfie was there too. He had a bowl of meat for himself. Speaking of wolves, Helmeppo came in with his two marine lackeys and started laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, that fool Roranoa, he thought that he would be released if he will survive 30 days. I am already bored of him. I'll execute him tomorrow. Be ready for a show." The things I hated the most were people who wouldn't keep their promises, so when I heard that he would execute Zoro tomorrow I got up from my table. I walked slowly towards him, and punched him into the face so hard he got troughed the restaurant's door and hit the wall of the nearest house unconscious. I looked towards Coby and said, "Coby, let's go, I will recruit Zoro into the crew right now." Me, Coby and Wolfie ran to the marine base. I left Coby and Wolfie behind the walls and approached Zoro again. He scowled at me and said, "What do you want, straw hat kid? I already said formation for you and it isn't pretty." Here a frown appeared on Zoro's face and he asked, "What is it?" "Helmeppo never intended to let you leave. After 30 days, he will execute you tomorrow, or maybe even today, if you want to survive. I can help you, but not for free." "You damn devil, that's blackmail." "What if it's blackmail? I am a pirate, I play dirty." "Okay, I will join you, but with one condition. If you will ever stay in the way of my dream, you will find your end at the edge of my sword." "So what's your dream?" "I want to become the world's best swordsman." "Naturally the world's best swordsman should be on the Pirate's King crew. She. Pirate King, huh?" A notification screen appeared after I took Zoro in my crew. Notification. Host has unlocked the crew function. Host can see crewmates' stats. Your crewmates improve stats faster. This applies to yourself as well. The more, or stronger crewmates, the faster the training. I used a small Rankyaku and I sliced all of the rope that confined him on the wood cross and asked him, "I heard you are a swordsman, but where are your swords, Zoro?" "That blonde bastard took them. They should be in the marine base." "Well then let's go and take M." We made our way inside, but we didn't really knew which room was his, so we searched every room, making the Marines know of our location, but we dealt SWIFLTY with them, making them not able to ring the alarm. After a while we found a pink room in which we got Zoro's swords back. Thinking that we finished here, we left the base, but we met with the Captain Axe Hand Morgan in the yard. Morgan is a very tall and muscular, intimidating man with blonde hair and a steel jaw. As his epithet suggests, his right hand is replaced by a huge steel axe, the handle of which seems to go right through his forearm. When he saw me and Zoro, he immediately ordered the marine cronies to shoot at us, but Zoro deflected the bullets with ease. Even starved and weak, he was still way stronger than the Marines. The following fight was really anticlimactic. Morgan got down like a sack of potatoes after one Gomu Gomu no pistol. It wasn't even interesting, the Marines actually cheered when he was beaten. The guy really wasn't liked by anyone. In thanks for defeating him, Ririka's mother gave us free food. Me, Wolfie and Zoro were eating at a relatively moderate pace, when a Marine came in and asked, "Are you two guys pirates?" "Yes, we are. I am grateful that you helped us, but as Marines we can't let you stay on the island. We are already doing you a favor by not reporting to HQ." I picked myself up from the table and indicated to both Zoro and Wolfie to come. Coby was in the restaurant, but I told him to not stay with us. It will make him less conspicuous, and when he asked to be enrolled in the Marines there will not be many questionings. Speaking of Coby, we could see him walking towards the Marine, and he said in a stable tone, without any stutterings or anything, "Mr. Marine, the behavior of Captain Morgan made me feel that there are corrupt Marines out there, and I as a fellow citizen, I can't tolerate that. I want to join the Marines and wash away the sins of corrupted Marines." It seemed my explanation of pirates and Marines made his dream evolve a bit. I chuckled again, and put my straw hat over my eyes. Things were done on this island. Me, Zoro and Wolfie, we were on the boat ready to sail. We also got some more food and water as thanks from Ririka's water as supplies for our journey. When we were sailing a bit away from the island we could see a long row of Marines saluting us. Zoro gave me a toothy grin and said, "Marines saluting pirates, this is a thing you won't see every day." "Nay, Captain," I just laughed. It was time for me to check Zoro's stats and I was pleasantly surprised by them. Only his intelligence was fairly low, but I didn't need Zoro for his intelligence anyway. Roranoa Zoro. STR. 50 AGL. 40 VIT. 60 INT. 10 WIS. 38. His stats were pretty good. He could even beat captains of East Blue in favorable situations. I made a good decision by recruiting him. My stats didn't improve at all since I only fought weaklings. Monkey D. Luffy STR. 120 AGL. 123 VIT. 150 INT. 100 WIS. 120. Nor did my skills increase. It seemed I need to wait till I reach the Grand Line to get some stats increases in. Anyways, for the time being I will just sail to the next town on the map, which was Orangetown. I decided to make this my destination, because frankly I didn't really know where to go. My navigation skills were basic at best. Maybe I could find a navigator in Orangetown, who knows. I, Zoro and Wolfie were relaxing while the boat was moving leisurely towards the destination which I set, Orangetown. Even though I didn't have great navigation skills, they were good enough for the East Blue. While we were relaxing, I and Zoro were chatting a bit. "So Zoro, how's your 3-sword style? If you don't mind let's spar when we get to the island." "Sure Captain, I will show you my strength." I laughed a bit at him. I just wanted to actually test his strength. He was by far no match for me, but I wouldn't tell him that. It would break his concentration, and maybe even make him angry. I will just show him my strength to make him understand. Wolfie was lying down with his head on his paws sleeping. When suddenly he looked upwards and he saw a bird. Wolfie wasn't that hungry but birds were one of his favorite foods, along with boars, so he used Geppo and started to run after it. When Zoro saw the flying wolf he freaked out a bit, but I just told him it's a technique everyone can learn if they have strong enough legs, and that made him quite interested, but I didn't have time to teach him so I started to paddle really fast to keep up with Wolfie. We also got 3 stranglers that got conned. They had gotten their ship and treasures stolen by an orange-haired woman. They also said she predicted the weather. That meant she was a great navigator. If there weren't any conflict of interests I could recruit her. My navigation skills really weren't good for the Grand Line. The 3 guys also told me they're from Buggy's crew, but I could care less about that. Buggy was a friend and crewmate of Shanks when they were little, but considering he remained in East Blue after being on Roger's ship it just showed how weak he was. After a while of paddling we reached Orangetown, and as expected it had partially destroyed buildings and everything was a mess. It was also a ghost town. No one was in sight. Things like pirates could do this to civilian towns. Me and Zoro were walking randomly when we encountered the orange-haired girl petting Wolfie. He was surrounded by 3 unconscious Buggy pirates. She was scratching his ears and muttering "good boy" under her breath. Wolfie was wagging his tail and his tongue sticked out. I coughed a bit and motioned for the now aware Wolfie to come over. The orange-haired lady looked towards me and asked, "Is he yours?" Obviously, why would you think he came towards me when I motioned him to? "Ha ha ha, my name is Nami. I am a thief who steals from pirates. Since you can tame such a strong wolf, you must be strong yourself. Do you want to team up?" Unfortunately, Miss Nami, our interests conflict each other since me and my pal here are pirates, Wolfie as well. A pained look appeared on Nami's face at the mention of them being pirates but disappeared as fast as it appeared. She was pretty desperate right now, and they looked like decent enough people, so she could team up with them. Even though she hated pirates till her marrow and bone, she made up her mind and said, "We could team up temporarily. I am a great navigator and I could be of help to you. Unless you will help me in the Grand Line, there's no need of your services. I can navigate the East Blue decently enough." Nami started gritting her teeth. She couldn't leave for the Grand Line till she paid her debt. Arlong became more and more violent these days. He started destroying villages for fun and he didn't care anymore if they paid or not. If she could pay the money, his promise would leave her village safe. I promise that I can help you into the Grand Line, but there are some conditions. One, I need your help with something. Until I finish the thing I need to in East Blue, I won't leave for the Grand Line. 2, all the treasures we gain, when I am in your crew for now, will be mine. I nodded at her conditions. Everyone had his own troubles to deal with, and hers it seemed it was concerned with money. As I looked more closely at her, she was actually pretty beautiful. She wore an orange mini skirt with 2 white rings on each side filled in with orange or brown in their centers and shirts with short sleeves.
She also had short hair with a particularly curled strand over the left side of her face. She is slim and has big brown eyes. In addition to being a good navigator, a beautiful female was needed in my crew. I couldn't be surrounded by males all the time. I also needed to observe the beautifulness of the female form once in a while.
So I agreed to her conditions, but there was no notification saying I added her to my crew. That meant she wasn't 100% in my crew. But as long as she kept her promise, I really didn't care. After her conditions being agreed, Nami was very happy with the help of these 2 strong guys and the wolf. She could get the money needed very fast. But before she could congratulate herself, some tremors started to shake the earth. It was a giant yellow lion with a pinkish purple-ish mane on the lion. There was a male who wore a white bear hat. He also wore blue pants and sandals. He looked at his lion and said, "Well, Richie, Captain Buggy is really angry, but since you are hungry, we will just destroy that pet shop over there and get the food." There was a pet shop nearby that was guarded by a small white dog. When the dog saw that the lion was approaching his store, he started barking and showing his teeth. Suddenly, an old man with curled hair wearing a wooden armor and having a wooden spear in his hand appeared. He looked towards the lion and man and said, "You can't destroy the store, that's Chow Chow's treasure." "Who are you, senile old man? How can this shitty store be a treasure?" "I am Mayor Bottle, the mayor of this town that you destroy." "Ah, so you are the old mayor. Whatever, move out of the way or I will just let Richie kill you." The mayor didn't move out of the way. He was standing there like a statue trying to protect Chow Chow the dog and the store. I started laughing and said, She, I like your guts, old man. Let me lend you a hand." I appeared near the lion with Zoro and punched him with a normal punch, knocking it out with ease. I also knocked out the strange man on the lion, just with a small punch on his head. These weaklings didn't even have the power to resist at all. The mayor looked at me with wide eyes, his glasses which were almost falling over. He didn't think that I could beat those people at all. By my appearance I was just a skinny young lad, but my power was something else. After I saved him, he started to tell us the story of how Chow Chow's store was a treasure to him. Actually, the owner of the store died due to an illness. He was Chow Chow's best friend, so to protect the last reminder of his friend, Chow Chow stood guard to this store for a long time. He never actually left. The townspeople would come from time to time to give him food or water, but he never left the premises of the store. Nami was kind of shaken after the story, but she kept herself up in no time. Both Zoro and the mayor couldn't see anything from her, but I could. It seems she didn't have a good past, and the dog's story kind of inspired her. After we heard the story, me, Nami, and Zoro decided to take Buggy out of the town. Nami more because she wanted his treasures. We arrived at the bar that the Buggy pirates took over. They were partying inside, so I took some air in my lungs and shouted, "Come on out, Big Nose, I have some things that I had to talk with you." An angry shout was heard from inside of the bar. "Who has a big nose, you?" And he appeared in all his splendor, Buggy the Clown. Buggy is a slim, yet muscular blue-haired man with an appearance resembling that of a clown. As to mirror his epithet, Buggy's face is always covered with makeup. Just like a clown, he has crossbones going down his face forming an X. He also had 2 blue lines near both of his eyes, red lipstick, and his Jolly Roger on his hat. He dons a striped white and red shirt with short sleeves, white gloves reminiscent of the ones worn by clowns, a sash around his waist like many other pirates, and a pair of loose pants reaching to his calves, just above, and pointy shoes. He also has a scarf around his neck. Hanging from his shoulders there is an orange, fur-lined captain's coat. On his head he has an orange hat with his Jolly Roger on it, over a neckerchief with the same pattern of his shirt. His face was red as his nose. His anger could be seen for all. Alongside him came his right-hand man Kabaji, as a tall, slender man with a unique hairstyle that covers half of his face. He is seen wearing a large blue and white checkered scarf that covers the lower portion of his face, a sleeveless brown coat reaching down to his knees, white pants larger near the end and held up by a light blue sash, and white shoes. He looked at us with a glare on his face. After his anger subsides, Buggy looked at me, Zoro, and Wolfie questioningly, not knowing who we were, but after seeing Zoro's 3 swords he recognized him. "Oh, so you are Roronoa, Zoro. Did you come after my head?" "Not particularly, I am not a pirate hunter anymore." "Ha ha ha, even if you didn't come for my head, if I will kill you I will boost my reputation." But before Buggy could do anything he was slashed into 2 by Zoro. What a weakling, and he was supposed to be a captain. Zoro didn't actually see that when he slashed Buggy into 2 there was actually no blood. Fortunately for him, I stopped Buggy's sneak attack by grabbing his detached hand. When Zoro looked backwards and saw the detached hand meters away from his back, cold sweat appeared on his countenance. He almost got injured seriously because he let his guard down. I stomped on Buggy's hand and told Zoro, Zoro just beat up his lackeys and the guy near him. Leave him to me. He is the worst kind of opponent for swordsmen. Zoro nodded at my words and started to attack Kabaji. Back with me I started to fight Buggy, but it wasn't really considered a fight. I was way superior to him. I was either dodging or mocking him. When he saw the straw hat on my head he started to curse. That damn straw hat makes me remember about that damn Shanks. If it wasn't for him I wouldn't have eat that damn devil fruit. I just laughed at him and responded with a snarky grin. You got this right, it is actually Shanks' hat, he gave it to me. But anyways, you are kind of boring for a clown, so I will just make you fly. I outstretched both my hands preparing for my Gomu Gomu no Bazooka. Buggy was too slow for me so he couldn't do anything about it. My technique hit Buggy square in the chest and sent him flying, making a shooting star appear on the horizon. Zoro was also finishing Kabaji with his trademark technique, Onigiri, Demon Hunt, making Kabaji have 2 long sword scars on his chest. After we finished them both, Nami appeared with 2 bulging sacks full of jewelry and gold. When she looked around and saw that Buggy disappeared and Kabaji was unconscious and bleeding, some light appeared in her eyes and she thought, these 2 guys are very strong, maybe they could beat Arlong, but she kept that only for herself, not telling the 2 anything. Wolfie was inside the bar beating the tar out of the weak underlings with his paws. They were like balls in front of him, but when he heard Luffy's voice he immediately got out and followed him, starting to wag his tail. Luffy scratched his ears and told him he did a good job. He helped Nami with the gold and they put both sacks into her boat. They unfurled the boat's sails and left, but before they could start relaxing, they saw a bunch of civilians saying thank you on the port. It seemed they realized we were the ones who defeated Buggy. Nami looked at a map and at our boat and said, if you want to cross the Grand Line you will need a bigger ship than that. I know, Nami, I was actually thinking to get a ship from the next island. Maybe we will be lucky there? Well, the next major island is called Gecko Island, but there are a few islands in between. We could resupply at those and try our luck at Gecko. Sounds pretty good. You can set sail towards the islands then. While Nami was navigating, Zoro was pretty bored. He actually wanted to spar with his captain, but due to the situation at hand they couldn't. Maybe he will try on the next island. Me, Zoro and company were sailing towards Gecko Island. On our way we also found a strange island with a guy in a treasure box and hybrid animals. It all started when Wolfie tried to eat one of the hybrid animals and it ended with the guy giving us fruits as supplies. We became friends. Nami was outside her cabin looking towards the ocean. She was contemplating whether to ask for help from Luffy or not. At most she had 2 more times to get the money, before Arlong flipped out and started to kill people in her village. She didn't know why Arlong became crueler and crueler with time. Even money didn't satisfy him anymore. He just wanted to kill to destroy, but it was strange. Only he wanted to do those things. His crewmates didn't particularly enjoy it. Now when she think about it more clearly, only Arlong changed. An island was starting to appear on the horizon, so I shouted, "Land ho!" waking up both Zoro and Wolfie. Zoro looked particularly grumpy that he got waked up, but he didn't say anything. Wolfie was actually pretty angry and he started to munch on my arm. I didn't really feel anything because he only did it playfully. He wasn't extremely angry, just angry. We docked, left the boats, and we were on the beach right now, when we suddenly heard a voice. This island has the protection of me. If you don't leave, my 10,000 men army will attack you. To emphasize the effect of the statement, a lot of pirate flags started popping up. Nami just chuckled and pointed out, "Those 3 are your 10,000 strong army?" The 3 kids that were hiding in the bushes yelped and said that they were found out, so they ran away. Up on the beach's cliff a young man appeared with a pachinko in his hand. He is a slim tan-skinned teenager with medium-length black woolly hair, prominent lips and a long nose. He wears brown overalls with a white sash and no shirt underneath. He also carries with him a yellow satchel. His legs were trembling due to fear. He aimed his pachinko at me and said, "I will shoot, so don't take one more step forward." My straw hat shadowed my eyes and I said, "Weapons are for actions, not intimidations, so be sure you put your life on the line when you point your weapon at someone." Usopp falled on his butt after my statement. Cold sweat permeated his face. He muttered under his breath, "So that's how real pirates are." I laughed and looked at him more clearly. "You are Usopp, right? Your father is Usopp?" Usopp immediately scrambled down the cliff and appeared in front of me. "You know my father?" "Yeah, I do. But let's not talk here. Me and my friends are also pretty hungry. Just point us at a nearby restaurant and we will talk there." So Usopp did just that. While I explained how Usopp was the sniper on red-haired Shanks' ship, Usopp was having literal stars in his eyes. He couldn't believe that his father was an important officer in a Yonko crew. After a while he excused himself, saying that he had to do something, while me, Zoro, Nami and Wolfie, we were finishing our meals. Wolfie especially ate a lot of meat and his belly was kind of bloated. When the 3 kids came in the restaurant asking for their captain saw him, they looked petrified, even more so when Zoro said with a feral grin on his face, "Well, we just fed him to our pet wolf here. He enjoyed him down to the last scraps and bones." The children shouted frightfully and pointed at Nami and said, "Which?" Nami gave each of them a bump on the head and said angrily, "It's just a joke, but if the wolf ate him, how am I the witch?" After we explained what happened, we asked them where Usopp could have gone. Kid. Well, I think he has gone to the big mansion to tell lies. Nami. Telling lies, isn't that a bad thing? Kid. Not really, because the young miss of the mansion is really sick and lies of our captain makes her happy. Nami. Oh, so it was like that. Luffy. Anyways, we should visit that mansion anyways. Maybe they have a spare ship we could buy. Zoro. Yeah, like Captain said. Wolfie. Since everyone was in agreement, we let the kids open the path for us. We arrived quickly at the mansion and we entered Trough, a secret passage that Usopp made. I didn't want to make a ruckus by using my powers, so I just followed the kids. Usopp was standing on rather thick tree branch and he was talking to a blonde girl. She was pretty pale looking, maybe due to her staying too much inside and never going out. When Usopp and the girl saw us, she asked him, "Girl, who are these people, Usopp?" Usopp. Well, Kaya, they're my admirers, they're here to join my Usopp pirate crew. Nami. You wish. Zoro. He's lying. Luffy. Actually, we are here to inquire if you have a ship for sale. We are in need of one. But before we could continue, our Taka guy wearing a butler uniform, he was wearing glasses and had black hair. He was also pretty pale, came out of the mansion and said, "What are you people doing here? This is private property. And you Usopp the liar, stop bugging Miss Kaya, she doesn't need you here." Kaya. Kurahadal, please stop, they didn't do anything. Kurahadal. Miss Kaya, you having visitors doesn't help your health at all. I will chase them away now, and please stop interacting with that brute Usopp, he is just after your money. Kaya. Usopp is not like that. Kurahadal. Pardon me, miss, but his father is a bastard pirate who just knocked up his mother and left. He is not even worthy of your time. Before they could continue, Usopp rushed at Kurahadal with bloodshot eyes and punched him in the face. Usopp. Stop insulting my father. I am proud of being a pirate son, a warrior of the sea sun. Kurahadal. HMPH ruffian indeed. You can't even control your emotions and resort to violence over the smallest grievances. Leave now. Usopp. I will just do that. Usopp left in a hurry, and since he left, we left as well. While we were waiting for him to get back, Zoro pointed out that he really wanted that spar, so I indulged his request. Me and Zoro, we were facing each other in a wide field in the outskirts of the village. Wolfie, Nami and the kids were spectating. Luffy. Zoro, just so you know, I won't use my full power because this will end too fast, but I will use my full skill. Zoro. HMPH, I know you are strong, but I doubt you are way stronger than me. Zoro wasn't really convinced, but I had to wake him up. I needed to strengthen him up for the Grand Line. When Zoro came at me with the overhead slash, I dodged simply by moving to the left. When he tried to slash me with a frontal one, I dodged by simply moving to the right. He tried to slash me again and again, but he couldn't do anything. There were a lot of occasions where I could have countered. I was a martial arts master. But this spar was for him to learn that he was a frog at the bottom of the well, not to hurt him. After a while of dodging, I just grabbed both of his swords out his hand and threw them away. His swordsmanship wasn't that great. If I would put it in system levels, I would give him 20 Latvian laches. I guess he beat in the East Blue weaklings, based more on his high stats rather than skills. Zoro was baffled. His captain was really damn strong, and that wasn't his full strength either. He could have hit him and put him to sleep a lot of times, but he just dodged. This was further exemplified when he just took his swords and thrown them away like it was nothing. Luffy. Zoro, from now on, when we get the ship, we will have a daily spar. We need you to get stronger for the Grand Line. Zoro. I understand, Captain. Usopp was coming from the village. He was battered, bruised, and he had gunshot wound on his left shoulder. When he saw us, he rapidly came over and said, Usopp. Guys, Kurahadal is actually a pirate. I saw him speaking with a strange guy on the southern slope. He said he wanted to hypnotize Kaya and take her inheritance. Luffy. I understand, but why are you so banged up, Usopp? Usopp. Well, I tried to warn the villagers, but they beaten me up. Nami. Well, that happens when you lie too much, Usopp. After Nami helped Usopp nurse his wounds, he looked towards us and he said, Usopp. Well, for now I will T-Lage. It would be better if you guys left, to not be caught in the crossfire. He wasn't really that inspirable with his shaking legs, but I just started laughing and I told him. Luffy. Usopp, we are friends. I will help you protect your village. Usopp. That's great. What are you guys good at? Luffy. Well, I am good at many things, but the first would be kicking ass. Nami. Stealing. Zoro. Cutting. Wolfie. Ow, 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 biting. Usopp. Hiding, all in chorus. No you won't, ow. We decided that we would put the traps that Usopp made on the northern slope. Something about that they would come from here because it had better ship parking. I also had Nami to hide our boats. And so they came with a big black cat ship. Most of them were cronies, weaklings. I could feel that from just looking at them. The only one relatively stronger was the weirdo with hard glasses and a cowboy hat, but he was still pretty much fodder. They tried to climb up the oiled slope that Usopp made, but unfortunately for them they weren't strong enough to do that. With the combination of Usopp's lead stars coming from his pachinko and Zoro's swords, I didn't even have to do anything before almost all of them were down. The hard glasses guy was panicking and he started swinging around chakram. When I say 1, 2 Django, all of your wounds will heal and you will become super strong. 1, 2 Django, almost all of them got up, their muscles bulging. One of them even punched the cliff and destroyed it, but for me it was still nothing. For the ones that Usopp and Zoro couldn't handle, I would just casually punch their lights out. After 20 minutes Kuro came and boy was he angry. You could see it on his face how angry he was. Kuro. You damn trash, you got beaten up by a bunch of brats, why are you living anymore? Django. Captain Kuro, please don't kill us please, these bunch of kids are truly abnormally strong. Kuro. HMPH Django, I left you to become captain because I thought you would do a good job, but it seems I was wrong. Kuro dropped down the bag he got with him and pulled up from it some menacing cat-looking gloves with claws on them. Django tried to remedy the situation by calling 2 people out of the ship. One was fat, other one was scrawny. Since Kuro was already out, they didn't go with their occasional lying and acting. They directly attacked Zoro with their strongest. Luffy. Zoro, just keep them occupied while I will beat Mr. Black Cat here himself. Kuro. A brat like you, think you can beat me, huh? But before we could start our fight, Kaya appeared. She had a gun in her hand which she was pointing to Kuro. Kaya. I can't believe it, Kurahadal, Mary told me what happened. How could you actually do it? Kuro. Oh, so that fool didn't die. I think I became rusty with time. Kuro put on a smiling face to Kaya and he started saying. Kuro. Do you remember when we were going shopping around? When I was helping you out with your studying? Kaya was starting to break remembering those times with Kuro, but after that a malevolent smile appeared on his face. Kuro. Well, I hated all of those times, and now I will take your inheritance. He apparated in front of her and took the gun out of her hands, but before he could catch her, I appeared in front of him and punched him hard, making him roll into the other cliff. But he stopped himself, leaving a trench in the ground. Kuro. Django, catch Kaya and hypnotize her. But before Django could do anything, a wood staff appeared above his cranium and cracked him in, putting him to sweet sleep. Nami appeared and she said with a grumbling tone. Almost no treasure on this guy's ship, what poor fellows. Usopp's sweat dropped at her remark. Usopp approached Kaya and took her more than a bit away from the battlefield. Zoro also finished the fat and skinny guys. All that remained was me and Kuro. Kuro. Oh ho ho, you really did in my crew, didn't you? But I still have a card up my sleeve. He started swaying from right to left and he disappeared. Well, for others but not for me. I was actually pretty surprised he knew a variation of Soru. It was actually way weaker than the original, and he also couldn't control himself. Example being the claw mark on the cliff. But I just used Soru myself and appeared in front of him. I also stretched my arm and twisted it behind me. It appeared in front of him before he could do anything. Kuro spiraled in the cliff and became unconscious, but the other people from his crew started to regain consciousness. I just throwed him to them and made them leave. The Black Cat ship was going away into the horizon. This encounter was pretty easy. After everything ended, we got ourselves some supplies and we were ready to leave, but Kaya invited us to show us something. Mary, the butler who Kuro almost killed, was there. He was fully bandaged, and his hair was done in a style of a goat. He even had something akin to horns. And the invitation actually was for this. They gave us a ship. It was called the Going Merry. Mary himself gave it the name. We were in need of a ship, so he took it. The Going Merry had a jib and a central steer rudder. The ship's armaments consisted of 4 cannons, 1 in the bow pointing forward, 1 in the stern, and 2 pointing to either side. It is a caravel type of ship. Mary explained me how to steer it, and I quickly memorized everything. Nami herself was nearby, so she understood everything as well. A giant backpack was rolling down the hill with a shout of, "Stop me," coming from it. He rolled till he almost hit the ship, but me and Zoro each just put a foot down in front of him and stopped him. Usopp. Well guys, I guess we will see each other on the seas. Luffy. What do you mean, Usopp? I decided to set sail and become a warrior of the sea. Luffy. Come on Usopp, you know it already, don't you? Usopp actually had tears pooling into his eyes. He jumped up and said, I am the captain. Luffy. Well, you really aren't, but whatever you say. After that, a notification popped up. Usopp has joined the crew. Usopp STR. 10 AGL. 12 VIT. 15 INT. 60 WIS. 80. We just all started laughing. After we finished putting all of our supplies from the older boats, we set sail for the next destination. We were still in need of crewmates. Maybe a cook would be good. I myself cooked up all the food, but I wasn't a good cook by far. It was edible but not delicious. Good food gave more energy, and energy was in very big need at sea. So our next destination was somewhere where we could find a good cook. Nami was standing on the new acquired ship the Going Merry, daydreaming and thinking how to solve her problem about Arlong, the fishman pirate, while Zoro, Usopp, Luffy, and Wolfie were talking. Usopp. So you actually helped Wolfie from since he was a little baby? Luffy. Yeah, he trained with me almost all of my childhood. He is very strong. Actually, he would be a good sparring partner for you, Zoro. Zoro. HMPH. Do you say that this wolf is stronger than me as well? Luffy. Well, let's just make a show of force, shall we, Wolfie? Wolfie. Ow, ow. Before Zoro could even react, Wolfie used Soru and appeared in front of him, pushed him down and had his mouth almost nearing his neck, ready to take a bite. Zoro wasn't able to do anything since he was taken by surprise by Wolfie's speed, so he was taken down relatively easily. Zoro. Okay, I understand. Tell him to get off me. Luffy. So Zoro, now that you understand, I will teach you some techniques and I will have you to spar with Wolfie. When you will be strong enough, we will do a three-way fight. Zoro. Okay, Captain, I understand. Wolfie got up from Zoro and wagged his tail at Luffy. From his eyes it could be seen like he was asking, did I do good? Luffy petted him and told him he did very good and he was a very good boy. After that he started to train Zoro into the ways of Rokushiki. Zoro was a swordsman, so Rankyaku and Shigen were not useful for him. So Luffy started to teach him firstly Soru. While the swordsman had great strength and good agility, he lacked in technique and finesse, so Luffy had to work with him on that. While Zoro and Luffy were training, Usopp got bored, so he decided to try out the cannons. He aimed at a nearby giant rock formation and struck it head on. Even he himself was surprised by his accuracy. Luffy looked at him and gave him a thumbs up. Usopp puffed up his chest, taking a bit of pride on his shot. A little while later, shouts of an angry man could be heard nearing the ship. A man made his up on the deck and shouted how he and his brother were almost killed, and he wanted to beat up the damn pirates that done this. The man is an average-sized man with somewhat tanned skin. He is always seen wearing a pair of sunglasses and has a black tattoo on his left cheek that reads, "C." He has short, black hair and is usually seen carrying his sword. His eyebrows always seem to be pointing down to make a scowl. But before he could do anything, he spotted Zoro and started crying. "Brother Zoro, what are you doing here? Did you get captured by these pirates?" Zoro. "Johnny, is that you? What happened to Yosaku?" "And no, I didn't get captured, I just decided to join them." Johnny. "Oh big bro Zoro, it's bad. Yosaku actually became really sick and we decided to rest on that rock formation, but someone shoot it." Usopp was behaving really sheepishly right now. Cold sweat was appearing on his face and he was scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. Anyone that saw him knew that he felt bad about it. Johnny dragged up another male with a makeshift stretcher from a tiny boat. Yosaku has a black shirt with a green coat and red headgear. He has plaid yellow shorts over shaven legs and dark shoes. He was pale white and unconscious. There was also a bit of blood near his lips. Nami heard all of the commotion and came over. When she saw Yosaku, an annoyed expression appeared on her face. "Nami. You guys, don't you even know basic stuff? He has a beginning of scurvy because he didn't eat any fruits. Usopp, go into the kitchen and get some lemons, make a lemonade and make this guy here drink it." Usopp. Aye, Nami." Usopp saluted and brought the lemons over. Usopp directly made lemonade on the spot and fed it to Yosaku. Suddenly Yosaku came back to life and started to dance with Johnny, saying how he was alright, but he vomited a bit of blood and collapsed afterwards. Nami, even more annoyed than before, berated them angrily. "Nami. You, it's impossible to get better so fast, just start resting. You give me a headache of how dumb you are." While the two friends of Zoro settled down, Nami came over to Luffy and asked, "Nami. You know we need a cook, right? Situations like these are very common at sea, and someone who would know nutrition and how to make food better would be really useful." Luffy. "I know, Nami, but I can't recruit any cook I find. I need someone decently strong and the cook must also be very good." While Zoro, Johnny and Yosaku were recalling their past of bounty hunting, Johnny actually heard the conversation of Luffy and Nami, so he immediately came over to them and said, "Johnny. Bro and sis, I know a place where you can get a good fighting cook." Luffy. "Oh, and where's that?" Johnny. "On one of the greatest moving restaurants in East Blue, the Baratie." Luffy. "Oh, I see. Then do you know where the Baratie is?" Johnny. "Sure thing, big bro. Do you need the location right now?" Luffy. "No, tell it to Nami here. She is the navigator, she will set course immediately." Johnny. "Okay, big bro." After that, Johnny told Nami the coordinates and with the help of everyone they set sail for the floating restaurant Baratie. After a while of sailing they finally reached the restaurant. It was in a circular shape and it had the theme of a fish. Everything a fish had included. But before they could debark and go get something to eat and ask around, a marine ship stopped nearby and a man wearing a pinstrip white suit and some metal kind of knuckle with purple hair came out and said, "Full body. I am Marine Lieutenant Iron Fist Full Body, and I do not recognize your pirate flag." The time it took for them to reach the Baratie, Luffy made Usopp create their pirate flag. It was a normal black pirate flag with a skull and crossbones, but the skull was wearing a straw hat. Luffy. "Of course you wouldn't recognize it, it was painted recently." Full body. "Would ever just sink them, men." The marine croonies fired a cannonball at the Going Merry, but before it could even land it was caught and thrown back by Luffy. His straw hat shadowing his eyes, you couldn't really see his expression very well, but from his aura you could tell he was pretty angry. Luffy. Yo marine trash, if you try that again, I am not gonna let it slide just like I will do it now, do you understand? Full body. You dirty pirate, how dare you insult me? But before Full Body could say a new order, a blonde woman wearing a red dress came out of the ship and said to Full Body. Dear, how much do we have to wait? I am hungry. Full Body. Oh, it's okay dear, we are going now. Full Body. Count yourself lucky, Straw Hat. I have better things to do than fight it out with you. Luffy. HMPH trash. Full Body. Why you little, dear, please let's go. Full Body. Okay. Things didn't escalate after that. Both sides just entered the restaurant peacefully and found their own tables. A blonde chef with long legs who was wearing a black suit with a blue shirt underneath and a blue tie. He also had swirly eyebrows. He was giving the order to Full Body. Full Body tried to impress his date by guessing the wine he ordered just by tasting, but the chef made a fool of him by giving him the wrong bottle. Full Body tried to escalate things by planting a fly in his soup and blaming the chef, but it ended really bad for him when he spilled the soup. You damn SBAG, don't you dare to waste food in the front of a sea chef. Before Full Body could do anything, he was dangling in front of the chef, his body bloody and beaten. Another chef with a shaved head was looking pretty angrily at the blonde chef. Damn it Sanji, why do you treat the customer that way? Sanji. Patty, you know that people who waste food are not our customers. Patty. I could care less what he uses the food for as long as he pays. While the two were arguing, Luffy was looking at Sanji with interest and thought, maybe he is the one I need on the crew, let's just observe further. Before the two of them could continue arguing, a gunshot was heard outside and a marine was rushing inside yelling, Jin the man demon of the Krieg pirates escaped. But before he could say anything else, he was shot in the back, and he lively thin man of average height with short, scruffy hair, a scruffy beard, and a slight mustache. He has dark circles under his eyes, as though he lacks sleep. Jin wears an open white jacket with a red sea serpent design on each side with a green shirt underneath, gray pants matching with his jacket, a gray headband with blue stripes design, and two spherical earrings on each ear. He made his way to a table and put his pistol on it. Patty came near his table and asked, how would sir want to pay for his food? Do you accept lead? He pointed his gun towards Patty. Unfortunately sir, we don't. Before Jin could do anything, he was slammed down on the floor, both table and chair broken. He was also thrown out of the restaurant. Patty was sheepishly scratching his neck and said, oh, I broke the tables, now boss Zeph will cut my salary. Sanji was in the kitchen. He was present when everything happened, and now he was cooking some rice and shrimp. He made his way outside almost undetected. Luffy was just beside him, tailing him down. He met Jin outside and said, Sanji, I saw you were pretty hungry back there, so I made you this. Jin, I have no money. Sanji, take it as a gift from me, no one should starve out at sea. Jin's eyes became cloudy as he started crying. He started shoving the food from Sanji in his mouth and muttering, delicious, so delicious. Sanji, good isn't it? Jin finished his food and looked at Sanji with gratitude in his eyes. Jin, won't you invite trouble if they learn you feed me? Sanji, it won't be any trouble if they can't find any evidence. Sanji threw off the plate and fork into the ocean. Jin's eyes were cloudy again. Sanji gave Jin a boat and told him to leave. While leaving, Jin thanked Sanji profusely and waved away at him. Luffy. Ho, aren't you a good guy? Sanji startled looked beside him to see Luffy looking at him with a knowing look on his face. Sanji, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna tell me on Zeph? Luffy, I don't even know who Zeph is, but I like your character. Why don't you join me on my crew? Sanji, I have no intention to leave the restaurant. Sorry, I refuse. Luffy, why don't you give it a thought? Don't you have a dream you need to accomplish which needs you to sail around the world? Sanji looked thoughtful after Luffy's reminder, but he steeled himself and said, no, I don't have a dream, I just want to cook on this restaurant. Luffy, when you make your mind, just come to me, I'll wait for you. Sanji, HMPH, stop dreaming, I won't leave. Zeph the owner was up in his quarters looking down from the window. Zeph is an elderly looking man who still retains his blonde colored hair, which he keeps underneath his extra long chef's hat. He has a mustache and a beard. He wore his chef's uniform, with a blue ascot and white apron. He also has a right peg leg. Zeph. Sigh, it seems it's time for the little eggplant to leave its vine. Luffy came back into the restaurant and told his crew about his plans. Nami looked a bit conflicted, but she didn't say anything. When Sanji came to take the order from Luffy's table, he immediately started flirting with Nami, hearts in his eyes. He was doing a strange noodle dance with his legs. Zoro. Do we really need to recruit this guy, Captain? I don't like him. Luffy. It's okay Zoro, we don't recruit him for his personality but for his skills. Zoro. I still don't like it, Captain. After a few days of lazing around the Baratie, Sanji still didn't made up his mind. Nami was on her end's rope. She needed to get the money to Arlong, but she also didn't want to leave the crew. She actually started to care for them. They were already in the restaurant, but today something different happened. A giant man with purplish hair wearing a golden armor was carried by Jin. Inside he looked hungry. "Jin, could you please lend some food for Don Krieg here? We have money now." Patty came outside the kitchen and looked towards them. Only a fool would feed Don Krieg the fowl. We already know of all his exploits. Even if we gave him food, he would later turn on us. Sanji like always had a plate of steaming food coming out of kitchen, but now he was turning towards Don Krieg. When the other chefs saw that, they started to attack Sanji and they were yelling at him. "Are you crazy? How could you try to feed Don Krieg?" But it was all in vain. Sanji still made his way over and feed Don Krieg. After Krieg finished his food he murmured lowly, "Thank you for the food, you fool." Krieg tried to attack Sanji, but Luffy heard Krieg muttering and shouted at Sanji to dodge. Thus Krieg could only hit empty air. Krieg glared at Luffy before turning around and saying out loud, "Krieg, well, this ship seems pretty good. It'll take it along with enough food for 150 hungry men." "Patty, see what you did, Sanji." Patty took a lobster-like cannon from a hidden compartment and said, "How about some desert Krieg?" and shoot him with the cannonball, pushing him outside the restaurant and destroying the doors. Patty, "Oh, it seems my salary is going down again." Krieg entered the restaurant unharmed and threw the cannonball at Patty. "Krieg, that desert sucked. Now get me the food before I start killing." "Jin, but Don, this wasn't in the agreement." "Krieg, you shut up, Jin. We need a ship and this one isn't good enough and near." Zeph walked down from upstairs. He had a giant bag with him, which he threw towards Krieg. The chefs were almost mad when they saw that. "Chefs. Boss Zeph, not you too." "Zeph. Shut up, you brats. You don't know the feeling of starving at sea. Only me and Sanji knows it, and we both do not want anyone else to feel it, be it enemies or friends. When they come back we will just defend." "Krieg. Did I hear that correctly, red leg Zeph? The years weren't kind with you, were they? Anyways, I know you kept a logbook about all of your adventures. I need it, and I will take it." "Zeph. I won't give you my logbook. It contains the adventures of all my crewmates and friends back then." "Krieg. We will see. I could have conquered the Grand Line if I had the information. I had men power, but not information. With it I will become the Pirate King." Luffy suddenly started laughing loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, or what remained of it. All the other customers ran away after Krieg resuscitated. "Krieg. What's so funny, you brat? Luffy. You becoming the Pirate King. You might had a lot of men under you, but you were all cannon fodder." "Krieg. How dare you, Luffy? Anyways, I will become the Pirate King, not trash like you." "Krieg. Ha ha ha, a brat like you dreaming of becoming the Pirate King. Now I heard it all. Just you wait when I come back with my men." Jin and Krieg left. While the chefs were preparing for the fight, Luffy and his crew were also waiting, but something was not right. Nami was missing. Luffy told Usopp to check the ship, but the ship was missing as well. Johnny also said Nami looked pretty aggravated when a bounty dropped from his bounty list stack. He remembered it was Arlong the Fishman with a bounty of 20 million. Luffy kind of understood the situation, so he didn't tell his crew to do anything. Krieg and his men came on a wreck that actually almost didn't resemble a ship at all. It was full of cuts and it was broken beyond repair. Krieg started laughing and made his now resuscitated men dock the Baratie and start attacking. While the men and chefs were fighting, a hazy mist started to appear around the broken ship. A coffin-like boat appeared and on it a tall, lean man with black hair, a short beard, mustache and sideburns that point had red eyes which resemble a hawk's eyes appeared. Zoro was basically shaking of excitement, but before he could do anything the remnants of the ship were cut again, making it even smaller than before. "Krieg. Hawkeye's Mahawk, did you really come after my head?" "Mahawk. Not really, I was bored and I didn't have anything else to do. Plus you wake me up from my nap." Zoro jumped on a remnant of the ship, his sword drawn, his bandana tied around his head, and yelled at Mahawk. "Zoro. I wish to duel you for the greatest S title, Mahawk." "Mahawk. A big frog in a small well. Why do you want to throw your life away so fast?" Zoro growled and said, "It's a promise I made someone a long time ago." Now while Zoro was talking with Mahawk, Jin captured Zeph, gave him up. Sanji has beaten a pearl guy who was wearing shields with pearls embedded in them, and Jin himself, but not without a price. A few of his ribs cracked, maybe broken. Krieg in his anger tried to unleash a poison bomb on the Baratie, but Luffy quickly beaten him up with a Gomu Gomu no rifle. He couldn't even take up one attack from a relatively serious Luffy. Luffy didn't have time for Krieg's bullshit, he was wholly concentrating on Zoro and Mahawk. Back with Zoro, Mahawk unsheathed the pendant from his neck, revealing a small hunting knife. Zoro was red in the face from his anger. "Zoro. What kind of insult is this, Mahawk? Unlike the other Neanderthals, I am not one who uses a cannon to hunt a rabbit." Zoro in his anger tried to slash left, right, but all his slashes were either blocked or parried. Zoro's anger was cooling down now. He wasn't that far from the world's strongest, was he? Zoro tried to do his trademark technique onigiri, where he crossed both his swords and tried to slash his enemy, but it was fully blocked, and he was stabbed in the chest. He didn't even try to go backwards, a savage smile appearing on his face. Mahawk. Why aren't you backing up? Zoro. I feel like if I backed up now I would die. Mahawk. Good words, I can acknowledge you as a swordsman. I will end your life with the greatest blade in the world, Kokuto, Black Blade. Mahawk unsheathed the sword from his back while Zoro prepared for his last technique. He started to rotate his swords at a high degree and rushed at Mahawk while yelling. Zoro. 3 swords secret technique, 3,000 worlds. But when he made up his way behind Mahawk, both of his swords were broken, only the sword in his mouth didn't take any damage. He sheathed his sword, and put both of his arms upwards facing Mahawk. Mahawk. What are you doing? Zoro. A wound on swordsman back is his greatest shame. Mahawk. Well said. He grinned and swung his sword, cutting Zoro across the chest. Zoro was pushed back and fell in the ocean. Both Johnny and Yosaku started swimming towards him, crying big bro all the way. A wind started to pick up and Luffy appeared immediately in front of Mahawk. Mahawk's eyes became larger, and he blocked Luffy's punch, which actually made him skirt more than a few steps. He was impressed of the youngster's strength. Mahawk. You're his captain, right? Calm down, I didn't kill him. A shout could be heard from another wreckage. Zoro was pointing up his white-handled sword and was saying, from now on I won't lose to anyone else anymore. Is that good enough for you, Pirate King? Mahawk looked towards Zoro and yelled as well. Mahawk. I acknowledge you, Roronoa Zoro. Come to challenge me again in the Grand Line. Come to deny me, come to deny the world. Mahawk. I also look forward to see you, boy. Shanks told me a lot about you. Luffy. He did, huh? Mahawk left in the mist with his coffin boat. After everything ended, the chefs, Zeph and Sanji, started to clean up the restaurant. Zoro was patched up, but Sanji still didn't want to go with the crew. Don Krieg's crew, himself as well, were gave a boat and they let them go. In one of the kitchen rooms, Luffy was eating with the other chefs. The chefs were cursing at the soup Sanji made, while Sanji was outside listening. Even Zeph cursed at the soup. Sanji finally broke down and confronted Zeph, saying he made the soup with his recipe. But Zeph told Sanji he never taught him to make hogwash. Sanji made his way angrily outside, and Luffy followed. Sanji. Hey, have you ever heard of All Blue? Luffy. Not really, what is it? Sanji. It's a special sea where all the fishes, from all the blue seas gather. Here a shit-eating grin appeared on Sanji's face. Sanji. And my dream is to find it. Luffy. So you decided to join me? Sanji. Yeah, let me just pack my things up. While Sanji was packing his things, the other chefs were also in tears, but it wasn't showing up on their faces. Sanji was outside while Zeph was up on the balcony. Sanji started crying and he kowtowed to Zeph, while saying, thanks for all of you done all these years, boss Zeph. All of the other chefs started to cry as well, Zeph included. Zoro, Usopp and Johnny left before on the orders of Luffy to scout out the Konami Islands, where the Arlong pirates had their base. Luffy, Sanji and Yosaku got on the special boat of Sanji's, which was used for getting ingredients. The chefs and Zeph, hearing their plight, gave it to them. While Sanji was cooking and Yosaku was fooling around, a notification appeared in Luffy's face. Congratulations on recruiting Sanji the cook, Sanji. STR. 45 AGL. 50 VIT. 55 INT. 20 WIS. 55. He was a pretty balanced stat-wise. Now they were on their way to Konami Islands, to free them from Arlong and help Nami. I was on Sanji's supply boat with Yosaku and Wolfie. Sanji was inside making food, and it smelled really damn good. Wolfie himself was salivating like no tomorrow. If I didn't order him to salivate into the sea, we would have capsized because of his saliva. Sanji was inside cooking his famous dishes. Yosaku was fooling around, and well, I was just waiting, but suddenly I felt something under the water. It seemed like it was a sea king, but what came out of water wasn't as intimidating as it was supposed to be. It was just a cow sea king, and it actually looked pretty cute. Sanji came out with the food balanced on his arms, and the sea king started to salivate. Sanji put down the food and lighted a cigarette, while he looked at the sea king cow and said, Sanji. Want some food as well, big guy? He grabbed a plate of food and he started to approach it towards his mouth, but before the sea king could take the bite, he was hit in the head by Sanji's leg and one big bump appeared on his head. Yosaku was actually kind of angry because Sanji attacked the cute sea king for no reason, but when Sanji told him that he would have taken his arm with the food as well, he shut up. The cow was actually starting to get angry after he got hit, but one hit from me gave him another big bump, and with tears in his eyes he left.
3 men and a wolf were eating on a supply boat, and when I firstly put Sanji's dish in my mouth, I could say, this man knew how to damn cook. His stats were also pretty balanced. He was a really good addition to the crew. I also decided after I helped Nami out with her problem, I would start training the whole crew. They needed some techniques, and based on their stats I would give them some rokushiki.
After quite a while we found our way to Konami Island. We docked at what used to be a village, I think. Everything was destroyed, debris everywhere. No sight of humans, or fishmen. We made our way into the island. But on the other parts of the island, different things were happening. Zoro was fighting fishmen, while Usopp, which he was found by Nami's sister Najiko, was sniping Arlong, who was ready to kill a man named Genzo. Arlong was actually hit by Usopp's explosive stars, one of his many ammunitions. Even though he was hit, it did 0 damage. Nothing happened to Arlong. It only angered him quite a bit, and he put his cronies to chase Usopp down and kill him. Unfortunately, Usopp was chased into the Arlong Park, the stronghold of the enemy. There he met with Nami. Arlong, after a while of searching, made his way out and he got back to Arlong Park. There he found Nami, alone. Nami looked at Arlong and told him with the most poke face on she could get. Arlong, I made the sum of 100 million belly this time around. I will come back with them, so be ready to free Kokoyashi village. There was surprise and hidden anger in Arlong's eyes. It seemed he needed to contact that marine sooner than he thought he would. Nami left and Arlong did his plan. Zoro, after beating up quite a few fishmen, made his way into a clearing and stood there to rest. Coincidentally, I and the others found our way to him. Even more coincidentally, Usopp came over there too. Najiko, Nami's sister, knew about us from Usopp and she came over to us as well. Sanji started to swoon almost immediately, but I stopped him from doing it. Najiko wanted to tell us about Nami's past, but I didn't want to hear about it. Unless Nami specifically asked for my help, I wouldn't give out the order. I just decided to take a walk and ignore everyone else. I did meet with 2 fishmen, but after I told them that I was just taking a walk, they didn't really care about me. When I made my way back, the story was finished. Both Johnny and Yosaku were there. It seemed they came over after I left. And they were both bawling their eyes out because of Najiko's story. I decided that we should meet Nami at Najiko's house, so Najiko guided us to her home. Usopp already knew where it was, so it was even easier. When we made our way over, we found a bunch of Marines digging around the orange orchard. Najiko immediately freaked out and tried to stop them. Nami herself came as well. She was equally angry. She just came back from Arlong Park and she found out these Marines tried to steal her treasure. After that, the man that Arlong almost killed made his way over to pacify things. He was the one who guided the Marines to the house. Unfortunately, the Marines didn't really care and almost shot Nami. Double unfortunately was that Najiko had to take the shot for her, injuring her arm as a result. After that, Sanji beat the living daylight out of the Marines, especially the captain, who had a rat hat on his head. He also had rat whiskers. After the things quieted down, Nami was so angry she didn't give us any other salute or anything. She just left to Arlong Park. There she confronted Arlong about his plan. When Arlong heard that the Marines were beaten, he showed his true colors. Grabbing Nami by the neck, he shouted at her with demented eyes. Arlong, no matter what will you do, you will always remain my possession. You will always draw out maps for me, do you understand? After that, he threw her out and told her that if she tried to leave the island, he would massacre the whole Kokoyashi village. Nami was in tears and scared after that whole scenario. She was also very angry. Arlong always said he would never back out of a promise which concerned money, but he was lying all along. She was really angry. Her eyes were bloodshot. She took the knife she always carried with her and started to stab the Arlong pirate's tattoo she had on her left shoulder, and shouted, Nami. Arlong, 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 Arlong. Suddenly my arm stopped hers and I looked at her with my straw hat shadowing my eyes. Her tears were still freely falling off her cheeks. Her voice trembling, she looked at me and said, Nami. Luffy, help me kill Arlong. I nodded my head, put my straw hat on her head, throwed both of my arms upwards and yelled, Luffy. Sure as hell I will. The villagers also tried to come and fight the Arlong pirates, but Johnny and Yosaku stopped them. I called over all our crewmates. It was time to make some fish food. We walked over to the giant gate of Arlong Park. Sanji, Zoro, Wolfie, Usopp and I were there. I cracked my knuckles and punched the metal door, throwing it off the hinges, and making it fly so far it destroyed the other brick wall that was in front of us. I walked slowly towards Arlong while he looked at me with an interested look on his face and asked, Arlong, who are you, kid? What do you want? I ignored him till I was nearly in front of his face and punched him so hard he was going trough the destroyed brick wall, and into the forest going trough trees, most of them going down after his back hit the trunk. I looked towards the other fishmen and I yelled, I am Monkey D. Luffy and I will take Nami away from you all. While I shouted, Arlong made his way back to the park. His face was quite badly beaten and his nose was crooked from the punch. He was also bleeding from the mouth. When his lieutenants saw his state, they almost immediately tried to attack me, but Zoro, Sanji, Wolfie and Usopp stopped them. Zoro engaged Hatchin, a octopus fishman. Hatchin, being an octopus fishman, has 8 appendages, 6 arms and 2 legs, and an octopus-like face. He has pink skin and gray hair styled with 5 spikes. He has a muscular build and has suction cups on his 6 arms, which he can use to cling onto walls. Hatchin has a tattoo in the shape of a sun on his forehead. Sanji engaged Karubi. Karubi has the typical appearance of a martial artist with a dark blue gi, a black belt, and his hair is tied into a straight ponytail. He also has a sun tattoo on the right side of the chest. Usopp and Wolfie engaged Chu. Chu is muscular, blue-skinned, and has thick lips. His Arlong Pirates tattoo is seen on his right shoulder. He wears a necklace, a striped blue vest, dark brown leather pants, and sandals. Arlong was visibly angry after he took that punch. He tried to punch me, but I just stopped him and twisted his arm away. Right in the eyes and told him with a cold tone. Luffy, I'll let you see how my crew will kill yours. But Nami came over exactly at the time that I said that. While she wasn't angry, she wasn't happy either after my statement, but she shouted towards me. Nami, don't kill the octopus guy Hatchin. He is a pretty decent guy, and he only got influenced wrongly by Arlong. When I was little and sad, he would have always cheered me up. I looked towards Nami and nodded, and I asked Zoro. Luffy, did you hear that first mate? Zoro chuckled while dodging Hatchin punches, but after the chuckle he cringed a bit. His sword/wound from Mahawk didn't even heal 20% yet, but he nodded his head anyways and told me. Zoro. Aye Captain, I won't kill this little guy here. Hatchin was visibly upset by Zoro's remark, so he made his way upstairs with his suction cups and came back with 6 swords. Hatchin. NYU. Rorinoa Zoro, I know you are a master of the 3-sword style, so I will beat you with my 6-sword style. Zoro HMPHED and told Hatchin. Zoro. Not the amount of swords make the swordsman, but the weight that they carry them. Hatchin looked confused and said. Hatchin, but my swords are over 250 kgs each. I doubt yours weigh more than mine. Zoro looked annoyed at the octopus' lack of understanding. Zoro. I didn't mean it like literal weight, whatever. Zoro started to fight Hatchin, but he was at a disadvantage because of his injury. Most of the fight Zoro could only dodge and not fight back. He was also quite injured by one Hatchin's techniques, which consisted of Hatchin opening his defense up, making Zoro fall in for the bite. After that he locked Zoro's swords with his and headbutted him, making him vomit a mouthful of blood. But Zoro didn't give up and used a new technique which consisted of him spinning himself and his swords at a high frequency, creating a twister of swordwind. He called it Dragon Twister. After Zoro finished his opponent, I looked towards the Sanji and Coby fight. It was actually quite intense. Sanji dodged continuously, but Coby was quite fast himself. After a while, Coby tricked Sanji and dragged him into the pool. But Sanji made his way back, and he got out almost unscathed, besides the point-blank fist technique he took to the ribs. After that Coby started to curse Nami. At this Sanji got really angry, and before Coby knew it, he got hit by a combo of kicks from Sanji. Collier, back, shoulder, heart. Sanji hit at all of Coby's weak points, and when his kick landed on his heart section it broke his ribs, which the debris from them entered his heart and killed him. He also shoot Trough Arlong Park and got out the other part of the building. Usopp and Wolfie were also kind of finished with their fight, while Usopp was helping Wolfie with cover fire. Wolfie was dishing out mad damage with the use of his high stats, and Chu didn't even last a few rounds. Wolfie was actually pretty hungry, so he kind of ate a bit of Chu when he'd bitten into him to kill him. Arlong was absolutely mad when he witnessed that, but my grip was like iron and he couldn't do anything. His eyes were like a maddened sea king, and he shouted hard enough for it to be heard in a few kilometers. Arlong. Damn you humans, how could you do this to my brothers? Momo, get your ass out of here and help me. A sea king rised out of the pool. It was actually the sea cow we encountered our way here. When the sea cow saw me and Sanji he started sweat dropping and he wanted to run away, but the next threat from Arlong made it attack. I punched Arlong into the building and I intercepted the sea king. I didn't kill it, I just hit it really hard, with my gum no pistol, to make it unconscious. Arlong made his way out with a fearsome blade. It was simple blade with a dull edge and a lot of what resembled teeth, on the sharp part. Nami shouted towards me. Nami. Be careful if that's the Kiribachi. Arlong uses it only when he is really angry. The warning was not necessary, sword or no sword, he would die today. He was still a weakling in my eyes. There is still a long way till I will find someone as strong as me in the East Blue. I uppercutted him so hard and I used Zoro to appear near him in the air, sending him straight in the upper levels of the building. He was no match for me. He couldn't even resist. I entered the building after him. It was time to end it all, but what I saw in that room made me freeze. It was a room full of maps. There was a bloodied pen on the table. I picked it up and looked at it. Arlong made his way behind me limping. He put his sword towards my neck, but he couldn't see the veins on my forehead twisting like angry snakes. I was really damn angry at this moment. Imagine how Doflamingo veins on his head look when he is really angry. He had a shitty grin on his face, like he won or something. He also looked at me and said with a maniacal laugh. Arlong. Boy, even if you took Nami away from me, it's impossible you would use her as well as me. Her life was given so she can make maps for me. I grabbed the sword and broke it. Arlong looked visibly shocked at my performance, but I didn't give a damn about his shock. When he saw my expression, there was finally some fear on his face, but when he heard me, his fear increased by 100% more. Luffy. Use her, damn user her. She is a person, she can't be used. She is not an object. Now I am really damn mad. This is the end for you, Arlong. I stretched my leg up, trough the ceiling and in the sky and brought it down so fast. Arlong couldn't do anything about it. When my foot struck Arlong, I could feel his internal organs bursting, and the whole building shaking. It was going down. The building collapsed, and I made my way out of the rubble. Nami had a big smile on her face, but there were still tears pouring out of her eyes. I looked towards her and said, "Luffy, Nami, you are my nakama." Nami just nodded, and a notification screen appeared in my face. Congratulations on finally recruiting Nami the Navigator. Nami. STR. 10 AGL. 20 VIT. 15 INT. 175 WIS. 100 My job at the Konami Island were done. But the villagers were hell-bent on partying after the tyrants were cleared out, so we had quite a big party. Usopp was telling his stories. Sanji was flirting a bit. Zoro had his wound checked out and healed by a proper doctor, and after that he started to drink sake. I kinda lost myself after I started to find a piece of food, and I found myself near a grave. The guy who took the Marines to Nami's home was there pouring some wine over the grave. Now that I was looking better at him, he was wearing a brown military uniform, and on his military hat was a pinwheel. But he removed the pinwheel and he put it near the grave. He turned towards me and said, "I am Genzo, you could say I am Nami's foster father. What are you doing here?" Luffy. Well, I was searching for something and I got lost. My condolences, by the way. Who is buried here? Genzo. Sigh, it's Nami's mother Belmere. After that, Genzo started to tell me the story of how Belmere was a retired marine, how she found Nami and Nijiko, and how she ended with a bullet through her chest because she didn't have enough money to pay for herself and her daughters, when Arlong took over the island. After he finished his story, he looked at me with solemn eyes and said, "Genzo, I know Nami wants to join you guys, so I want you to promise me one thing. Just don't make her lose her smile, because if you do, I will hunt you down and kill you." I just laughed at him and said, "Luffy, even if you wanted to kill me you couldn't, but be sure it'll keep Nami happy." Genzo. That's all I want to hear. I made my way down of the cliff that the grave was positioned on. It seemed I couldn't find that piece of food. The next day, the whole crew besides Nami was already on the Going Merry. We were ready to sail, but Nami wasn't there. We were still waiting, but when we caught Nami running towards us and shouting to set sail, we just did that. The villagers were pretty angry because they wanted to get a heartful goo out of them and jumped on the ship's deck. Nami pulled her white shirt up and a lot of wallets, full of belly, falled out. At this sight the villagers got angry, but they immediately mellowed down when they heard that Nami left 80 million of her berries back. She didn't leave the fully 100 million because their pirate group still needed some funds to buy supplies. Nami also decided to plant some orange trees on the ship before she left. I looked towards Nami's left shoulder. Instead of the Arlong tattoo, now there was a pinwheel and an orange tattoo. It was light blue. I made my way towards her and looked in her eyes. She blushed at me and I just laughed. I looked towards my crewmates and shouted, "Luffy, next destination, the town of the beginning and the end, the town where Gol Roger was executed, Loguetown." The whole crew shouted in chorus, "Aye aye, Captain." While Nami started to dish out instructions, the crew took action, and we were on our way to the next island. I was standing on the sheep figurehead on the ship. Wolfie was on my lap. While he was actually staying with only his head in my lap, I was stroking his fur and thinking, why did I have this system thing? As I grown up I started to realize that other people do not see what I can see. Now that I had crewmates that I could interact with daily, I understood even more how special I was. It has been quite a long while since I last talked with the system, but now I had some serious questions, so I said in my mind, "Luffy, system, why do you even exist, and why me?" Bing. Host cannot access this information. To access this information you need to complete the following requirements. All stats at least reached 500, without boosts. Learn certain techniques that will not be disclosed unless host witnesses them. Eat a second devil fruit, which would complement your first one or not up to host. You still need to eat a second one. Master at least 3 fighting styles, current mastered fighting styles, martial arts. Host also needs to either become the Pirate King or acquire a skip button. Skip buttons can be acquired by beating an opponent that either has a 400 plus stat, or is a old legend, X, Whitebeard, Shiki. I looked at the windows and my mood soured. It seemed I need to do a lot of things before I knew why I was chosen for this thing. Speaking about stats, now that I had more people in my crew, I should be able to increase my stats again due to the crew boost. I should also train Sanji, Usopp and Zoro, while I should teach them some Rokushiki and improve on Nami's lacking stats. I nodded my head at the plan that I currently making in my mind. They could grow stronger with fights, but some official training routine was needed, so they would be prepared even better in the future. I got up and motioned for Wolfie to follow me. I walked on the deck and shouted, "Luffy, all of you, get out right now, it's time for amusement." Zoro, Usopp, Sanji and Nami immediately got out. Zoro and Usopp from the men living's quarter, Nami from the women's and Sanji from the kitchen. It seemed he already finished food for the noon snack. I looked at all of their faces and said with a low tone, "Luffy, even though you are strong, the Grand Line is not an ocean that can be underestimated, so from now on I will start to train you every day. Zoro had an excited look in his eyes, Usopp's legs started to shake and Sanji had an intrigued look in his eyes. Nami looked like she also wanted to become stronger. It seemed the Arlong episode made her quenching for strength so that she wouldn't be helpless against anyone else we would encounter on our journey. I nodded my head at them before giving Usopp a dark look and petted Wolfie's head. Usopp will need 1v1 sessions with Wolfie in the future. Usopp shuddered at my look and it seemed like he was reading my thoughts. I started talking about the training to make them feel what they were up to. Luffy. From now on every day for at least 3 hours a day we will do some sparring, normal training, and I will also impart some techniques to you. Luffy. Firstly for Zoro, you will train your muscles with weights and spar with Sanji. I will also teach you 2 techniques which will be useful for you no matter the situation. I also wish that all of you will learn these techniques. As for the other that I will show you, they can be learned voluntarily if you ask me to teach them to you. I started by using shave. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw me teleporting around the ship. And their eyes literally popped out of their sockets when they saw me take flight with Skywalk. I explained them the basics of the techniques, while also giving Sanji and Usopp their training regimes. Usopp Alsmot cried when he heard he had to spar with Wolfie. As for Nami, she has to do normal training without weights to consolidate her foundation and increase her strength before she would be able to learn the techniques. Before leaving I also showed them Shigen, Rankyaku and Kami-e. Usopp and Nami also wanted to learn Kami-e while Sanji wanted to learn Rankyaku, so I teach them the basics for all of them. Once the basics were mastered, the only thing needed to fuel the Rokushiki was inner strength. I left them to their own devices while I opened up my status screen, which I didn't open in quite a while. Beep. Monkey D. Luffy STR. 121 AGL. 125 VIT. 153 INT. 105. WIS. 125 I still quite remembered my own stats from the last time I opened my status. I was actually quite impressed they increased. It seemed the crew boost wasn't to be taken lightly. After I left Dawn Island it was almost impossible for me to forcefully increase my stats anymore, unless I fought with someone equally strong, but now somehow my stats could increase. Even though the increase was so small it couldn't be mentioned, in close fights it would still be the deciding factor. Who had one more point in STR or AGL? My staff skills didn't increase while I was already a martial arts master, since I needed to master 2 more forms of combat to unlock one of the requirements for the information I needed to know. I decided to repick my old staff I left around in the boat. All of the things on the boats were moved on the ship, so I could find the staff after a little while. I also noticed the boosts thing when I saw the 500 stats. What were actually boosts? I didn't really understand the term so I asked the system. Bing! Boosts are rather known as transformations or stat increasing techniques, or techniques that can be either learned by everyone, or techniques that can only be learned by people with different kinds of devil fruits. Host can learn boosts but the system won't help host to learn them. Once you fully learn how to use a boost, the system will hasten its mastery. I nodded at the explanation. It seemed I could get a transformation of some kind. Since I was made of rubber, the transformation had to do with my rubber body properties. I thought about it for a while but I couldn't quite grasp what should I do about it. Maybe after a longer while I could truly understand what I could do with my body besides stretching it. While others were training, after I finished picking up my staff and organizing my thoughts, I wasn't slacking either. I decided to do some normal training, but with weights tied to my arms and legs. Push-ups, sit-ups, crunches, all kind of exercises. As for the weights, I used some huge dumbbells I found in the crow nest. It seemed they were Zoro's.
After a while of training I checked up on my crewmates. It seemed they were also done with their training. In special Zoro and Sanji. Zoro learned a bit how to use shave but it was really awkwardly used while he didn't have any progress with moonwalk. Sanji could use Soru, moonwalk and Rankyaku but they were really unpolished and slow. I guessed Sanji could understand these techniques better because all of them were related to legs.
Usopp and Nami also made some improvements but both of them didn't really learn any of the Rokushiki. Their body foundations were still too weak. But all in all we all improved quite a bit. I decided to open the crew window to see all my crewmates' stats. Bing! Roronoa Zoro. STR. 65 AGL. 55 VIT. 80 INT. 20 WIS. 55. Usopp STR. 18 AGL. 20 VIT. 28 INT. 75 WIS. 90 Nami. STR. 15. AGL. 25 VIT. 20 INT. 180 WIS. 110 Sanji STR. 60 AGL. 60. VIT. 62 INT. 30 WIS. 70 Monkey D. Luffy STR. 122 AGL. 125.
VIT. 154. INT. 105. WIS. 125. All of their stats increased by quite a lot, even mine increased in STR and AGL, and I didn't even train that much. The crew boost system was quite overpowered. If we trained like this for a few months, I guess I would even reach almost 199 in STR AGL VIT. To increase which I would need to fight quite a strong opponent though.
All in all, this was a really productive day. Maybe not tomorrow, but in a few days I would reach the island where I could see where the greatest pirate in the world was born, lived, and died. The town of Beginning and the end Loguetown.